ready to go? You ready to go? Y'all tell me.
Yep.
All right. Let me know when you're ready, Pam.
Yeah, go ahead.
It is 5:02 p.m., and I would like to call the April 22nd regularly scheduled board meeting to order and ask that you join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. And now would you please rise and join with us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And now our mission statement will be read by Director Ewing.
The Waterloo Schools community commits to a comprehensive system of education and support to assure that each and every student will graduate prepared for college, career, and citizenship, as evidenced by continuing education, pursuing a career path, and contributing to a community.
Thank you, Director Ewing. The next item on our agenda is the public hearing for the 2024-2025 budget certification. Some of the details. April 30th, 2024 is the last day for school districts to certify the 2024-2025 budget with the Black Hawk County Auditor and the Department of Education. Per new state of Iowa requirements, school districts are required to hold 2 public hearings for budget certification. The first public hearing was held on March 25th, 2024. This is the second public hearing for the proposed budget certification. The notice of public hearing must be published at least 10 days and not more than 20 days prior to the hearing, and must include the proposed budget, time, date, and location. The attached budget was published in the Waterloo Cedar Falls Courier on April 9th, 2024. I declare this hearing open. That makes this open for public comments. If there's anybody in the crowd that would like to come speak to the board about the budget certification. Seeing none, can I get a motion to close the budget certification hearing?
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Chair votes aye. Motion carried. That brings us to our next item, the public hearing for the East High Pool Infield Project. In accordance with Section 73A of the Code of Iowa, a public hearing is required if the Board of Education of a school corporation proposes to make public improvements that may exceed $100,000. A public hearing provides an opportunity for any and all interested parties to appear before the board and comment on the proposed project. The district proposes to infill the pool at East High School and repurpose the room as a multi-purpose room for athletic and other activities. I declare this hearing open. If there's anybody in the crowd that wants to talk about the East High Pool infield. Seeing none, I hereby close the public hearing. Can I get a motion to close?
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion carried. This brings us to item 7, public hearing for West High Pool Infield Project. In accordance with Section 73A of the Code of Iowa, a public hearing is required if the Board of Education of a school corporation proposes to make public improvements that may exceed $100,000. A public hearing provides an opportunity for any and all interested parties to appear before the board and comment on the proposed project. The district proposes to infill the pool at West High School and repurpose the room as a multi-purpose room for athletic and other activities. I declare this hearing open. If there's anyone that wants to speak on the West High Pool infield. Can you please stating your name and address, please?
Yep. Brad Mays, 3003 Rainbow Street, Waterloo, Iowa. Sorry, this thing's weird. But I'm fully in favor of turning having the west pool get turned into a multi-purpose room. And I say that for a number of reasons, one of which is regardless of what the district ends up deciding to do, if it turning into one high school or not, either way it's going to benefit multiple groups, including wrestling, the cheer team, dance team, PE. You guys still hear me? Yes. Okay. Yeah, and I'm willing to help out in whatever way possible to help make this happen, assuming it does pass. So if you have any questions or anything, let me know.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Coach. Is there anyone else that would like to address the board? Seeing no others, can I get a motion to close the public hearing?
Second.
All those in favor? State aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion carried. This brings us to our next item on the agenda, public hearing for the Central Water Upgrade Main Project. In accordance with Section 73A of the Code of Iowa, a public hearing is required if the Board of Education of a school corporation proposes to make public improvements that may exceed $100,000. A public hearing provides an opportunity for any and all interested parties to appear before the board and comment on the proposed project. The district proposes to construct water main upgrades at Central Middle School located at 1350 Katoski Drive, Waterloo. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Okay, I'll declare this open. Is there anyone that would like to speak to the board about the proposed Central Water Upgrade Main Project? Seeing none, can we get a motion to close the hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion carried. This brings us to our next item on the agenda, which is a school presentation from George Washington Carver Academy. And this is for information only. Oh, I'm sorry. You may want to step back for a second. Oh, it's not in here. Okay, gotcha. So item 9 on the agenda is information from individuals and delegations. Yep. This is the opportunity where those who wish to address the school board may do so. Please keep your comments to 3 minutes or less. Ms. Arndorfer will hold up a yellow card when we have 30 seconds remaining and a red card when your time has expired. At this time, I will ask you to conclude your public remarks. Please also keep your comments respectful and constructive. We're all here with the goal of trying to help our students. Please also avoid criticizing the job performance of specific employees of the school district. Personnel matters are confidential and must be handled through proper channels and not in a public forum. Finally, we provide this as an opportunity for public comments, but it is generally not a back and forth discussion, especially of items not on the agenda. At times, we'll try to help if we can with information before or after the meeting, but we have to proceed with our board meeting agenda items. With that being said, I invite anyone who wishes to address the board to please step forward and start by stating your name and your address.
My name is Jamie Overhoy. I live at 5532 Summerlin Drive, and I am the local group lead of the Cedar Valley's chapter of Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense in America. Last May, several of us stood before you at a board meeting just like this with a goal to educate the board and community about the gun violence crisis in our country. We shared that in the U.S., firearms are the leading cause of death of children. Nearly 2,100 children under the age of 18 are killed with guns every year, an average of 6 children every day. When children are killed with guns, the majority of those deaths are homicide, followed closely by firearm suicide, and more than 100 children are unintentionally shot and killed each year. We also pointed out that 4.6 million children live in the U.S. in a household with at least one loaded, unlocked gun. We also stressed the importance of secure storage of firearms because almost all unintentional shooting deaths of children occur in the home. Tonight, I have the honor of expressing our group's gratitude. Gratitude that our school board was willing to have conversations with us to find a way to educate our community about mental health resources and the importance of safe storage to keep our children safe. This is never an easy topic to talk about, but it is necessary. And we are grateful that you also see the important role schools have in providing resources and community education. While this resolution may seem like a small drop in a very large bucket, if we can prevent even one child from gun death or injury, then it will have been worth it. In addition, I also get to share our group's hope that this is the beginning of the conversation and partnership we can have as it pertains to reducing gun violence and ending this public health crisis. That hope leads me to my next point this evening. I began my advocacy with Moms Demand Action because of my career as an educator. Gun violence and mass shootings are all too real in our schools and classrooms. Unfortunately, since our last time of addressing the board publicly, Iowa experienced its own tragedy in Perry, Iowa. With this tragedy has come new legislation to arm teachers in schools. Arming teachers and staff is opposed by school safety experts, teachers, and law enforcement across our country. Research shows that arming teachers introduces new risks of gun violence in schools and puts the lives of students and teachers in danger. Arming teachers and people on campus only increases the chances of students experience gun violence on school grounds. Thank you again for putting the safety of students, staff, and community first in all that you do. Please reach out to us for any information that may be needed around gun safety in our schools and community.
Thank you, Ms. Oberhue. Is there anyone else that wishes to address the board? Seeing no others, can I get a motion to close? No, we don't need a motion. We don't need a motion.
Oh.
So our next agenda item is a school presentation from George Washington Carver Academy. Throughout the 2023-2024 school year, we will hear about the many amazing things happening in each of our buildings. Administrators from each school were provided with a list of school board meeting dates and were asked to sign up for a night to present. 2 slots were provided for each board meeting. In tonight's first presentation, the Carver Academy Bulldog PAC Principal Advisory Committee will highlight the exciting developments and the achievements happening at Carver. From academic triumphs to community initiatives, students will showcase the impactful work of their school community. I believe we have Mr. Josh Payton, who's the principal at Carver.
Definitely not tech savvy here, so
You got help coming.
I'm pushing buttons.
You got help coming.
Well, you weren't coming very fast.
I know I did,
Help.
yeah, right, you're right, it's true, it's true. You did the input? Yeah, that's fair. What'd you put? Top on computer. We did just test this with Josh's very own computer, and it worked with flying colors.
So tomorrow there is a meeting to discuss boardroom technology.
There is.
A day too late, right, Mr. Payton?
It's all right.
There, I think we're getting close.
So as we continue to work through the technology piece, just a little background with what we have for the presentation today. This was 100% student created. So the group that you have behind me here, the better half of this, of what we get to do, you know, and it's the kids is what we do, brought them together. And so I had Kennedy, Camille, Grace, and who was my other one? Tiaji. Sat in my office for probably a total of 4 hours working on this presentation. And I'm going to say they were fantastic. My only concern is they're a little too perfectionist focused. They probably created over 30 slides for this presentation, and we got it down to 8 because they were deleting their own and going through their own work. You know, because they created this. So the whole team, the Bulldog Pack, came together and identified a list of things that we wanted to bring to the board. And then that team took on finding the resources to put this presentation together. And so today alone, how many times did we practice?
Yay.
4 or 5 times we were up front practicing in the commons with the microphone and public speaking and making sure, you know, with eye contact and along those lines. But also at the same time, we worked on professional presentations and professional communication with our staff because a lot of these pictures that you're going to see were staff generated or staff had access to, so we wanted to gain access. So we talked about, you know, how do you engage professionally through email to help build what you're looking to do. So with that being said, I didn't even plan on talking that long, you know, because this presentation is theirs and we are just the facilitators and providers of the time. So I'm going to get out of my way and remind them to have good eye contact, loud voices, and not be nervous. All right, we ready? Here we go. Here's the Bulldog Pack.
Hi, my name is Camille Watson. I'm a 6th grader at Carver. Bulldog Pack Principal Advisory Committee is a group of student voices composed of 12 students with diverse experiences in school life. Our mission to bring student perspectives to Mr. Payton and school staff for positive change. Provide insight into student experiences for a better school environment. Work with staff to implement changes that benefit students. Instrumental in creating school-wide position reinforcements. Advocated for exciting field trips and enhancement learning experiences. Actively participate in the Carver Community Alliance. Share our experiences with parents and community members. Foster understanding and support for student needs. Provide students voices lead to meaningful changes. Strengthening the bond between students, staff, and the community. Create a more inclusive and student-centered school environment. Bulldog Pack is important for student voices and empowerment. Together, we shape a school where every voice is heard and valued, and we get to tell Mr. Payton what to do.
Hi, my name is Tiaji Phillips, and I'm a 7th grader at Carver. This slide is about family and community. We host various community events at Carver to foster a sense of belonging and inclusion. Some of our events examples are Hispanic Heritage Night Family Night, Black History Family Night, Literacy Family Night, and our community cookout. Our purpose is to welcome students and families to our school to show them that we care about them.
Over 1,200 attendees have participated in our events, building connections and memories. Get involved in upcoming events and share your ideas. Thank you. Together we thrive as a community.
Hi, my name is Grace Ring, and I am a 7th grader at Carver. Activities. Diverse range of activities engage students and staff in hands-on learning experiments. Example included Eighth graders visit to John Deere, practice interview, and water pH level testing. Reading Buddies program at Lincoln Middle Schoolers read with K through third graders. Middle school plays at Waterloo Community Playhouse. Students write and act in a production. All student art shows features our work from 100 talented Carver students. Test scores and bowling. Test scores, tools for teachers' insight. Testing helps teachers understand students' learning and classroom progress. Examples of tools: IXL, ISAP practice, SPG, standard-based grading. Bowling, a reward for achievements. Bowling is earned privilege based on academics, performance, and attendance. Students can earn bowling privileges through good grades and good attendance records.
This next slide is about IJAG. IJAG is an acronym for Iowa Jobs for American Graduates. IJAG is a class offered to students to help them explore and find their career paths. Recently, we went on a field trip called Build My Future. We explored careers, we did hands-on tasks, and we learned how to do our jobs properly.
My name is Jimmy Meacham, and this slide is about sports and music, sports opportunities. 7th and 8th graders have a variety of sports to choose from. 6th graders participate in extramural sports depending on available volunteer coaches. Athletic achievements. Notable sports achievements include undefeated 8th grade basketball team, undefeated wrestlers, and competitive soccer teams across all grades.
The music departments for 6th, 7th, and 8th graders host 2 concerts manually. They also organize an honor band showcasing student talents. Hi, I am Kennedy Smith. I am a 6th grader at Carver. Clubs. Diversity clubs offering. Carver offers a wide range of clubs, activities for student involvements. Examples of clubs: gardening club, robotics club, chess club, and book club. Student numbers: chess club 4 students, book club 49 students, gardening club 22 students, robotics club 6 students, among the other clubs. Thank you. Thank you for the school board, Dr. Smith, and the Carver staff for their outstanding support. Your dedication provides amazing opportunities and supports students academically in discovering their strengths. Together we rise as a community committed to student success and well-being.
Alone we do so little, together we do so much. Helen Keller.
Thank you.
Don't leave so fast.
That's what I just told him. I said, they got questions, you guys got to come back. So, but again, Chris Houston was the 7th grader. I don't think he got to introduce himself. I think he was so primed to get into his presentation. But as you can see, we have a very diverse group of experiences and what everyone's involved with at the school. And that's kind of the whole purpose of the Bulldog Pack, is to have those different experiences of school be represented in an opportunity to work, directly with me and as a team to keep building things up. So what questions would you guys have for them? And we warned them that it's going to be tough, so.
Yeah, this is a tough group. Before we get to questions, I just wanted to say that each one of you did an amazing job. So if you give yourselves a round of applause, you guys are awesome. I know your parents are in the crowd are pretty proud of you, so wonderful job. Do we have any questions or comments?
I'm curious about the gardening club. How many students and what are they interested in? We're introducing agri-science at the Career Center this fall, and it involves a lot of things. Gardening is one of them. So I'm just curious whether you have any actual suggestions on, as students, what you would like to see in when you're in high school.
Anybody with the gardening club here? All right, come on, Tiaji. So he's just wondering, like, what got you interested and how could that transfer over to high school here in a couple years? And maybe some suggestions as we build a program up for the FFA at the Career Center.
Okay, well, first, what got me interested is throughout my middle school year, I've been have setting a goal for myself to try new things, to get out more, interact, and stuff like that. So when they talked about garden group, I was like, yeah, I'll try it out. And so far, we have a meeting every week, and I go on Wednesdays. We have different groups. I go on Wednesdays. So it's been very fun. It's been interesting, and we're building a garden around we have a garden in the front. We're building around it to get ready. So learning all the ways to make things go faster and stuff like that, grow all the different type of plants, what it needs to grow and all that type of stuff.
How could you take the high school here for the Career Center when they have their, ag programming? So what could they do to help promote that? So they needed Miss Sheila, don't they?
Yeah, they probably do need Miss Sheila, 'cause she's probably one of the best at explaining what she needs to do, how to do it right. She answers questions, so yeah.
Thank you.
Can I ask you one question? What made you decide to set a goal for yourself? What was that conversation in your head that you made that decision?
Well, when I first came to middle school, I always I don't know, it's just I always wanted to go an extra mile, always want to take the extra step to get where I want. And when I go ready to graduate graduate and go to college, I just want to have that good resume and stuff like that, be able to get accepted to colleges. I just always like to take that step forward. So I don't know, it was just something I decided to do.
That's awesome.
Good for you.
Awesome job with your presentation tonight, and I'm really excited to hear about the Bulldog Pack. You mentioned that it gives students a voice. What are some of the things that you're telling Mr. Payton that he needs to do at Carver Middle School?
So for example, when we're trying to build the school up and bring more things into school, he'll ask us for opinions because he wants the school to have stuff that other kids will enjoy. And I don't know how else to explain it, but yeah, we can tell him, let me think. We did this before. When we were doing the committee a few weeks ago, he asked us what would we like to do for the committee. So some people standing at the front of the door, handed papers to everybody to show them what we were gonna do. We gotta do activities throughout the committee. And then when we're in his office practicing working, he also lets us, how do I explain this? He lets us write on sticky notes of things that we would want or things that we should bring into the school.
Okay, so we are a voice at Carver because we get to help out, and for other schools, kids really don't have a voice, and we have a voice, and we get to say what to do. For example, we got to help hire the new principal next year for 8th grade, and we had a voice, and we got to talk to him and see how he was, and we got to see got to see how he was and got to see what he was like, and we had a voice in that.
Right, nice job. You did good. You're good. Normally Chris isn't this quiet. Chris, you got anything else? No? All right, man. Absolutely.
I would like to add what Kennedy said. We had 3 people that we got to interview for Ms. Coleman's place for next year because she will be retiring. We got to go through, got to give them a tour, which mostly teachers would do, or principals. But yeah, we got to take them around and have questions throughout the tour. Got to show them around the whole school. Yeah, we were a part of that because they also interviewed them, and then our voices had an impact on the answer.
So how was the committee put together? Did you ask to do this? Like, what was the start of it, and how will it continue then?
So I think last year this was we got it off the ground, but we only had 2 from each grade level. And when we came back this school year, we only had 2 left from that group, and that was Chris and Tiagi. But we really wanted to expand it out and get more involvement. So we ended up going 4 per grade level, but it was teacher recommendations going around just because we did have that expectation of a diverse voice coming into this group to help lead where we take the school to. So they signed a lifetime pact to be a part of the Bulldog Pack, and they will be through the middle school years, but then we're also meeting with East's student leadership team here in May to start bridging that gap into high school so they could carry on with student leadership.
So currently, what's the breakdown of students per grade?
4, 4, and 4.
4, 4, 4?
Yep.
Are there any more questions or comments?
Of course, I got a comment.
Okay.
Well, first of all, I'd like to congratulate each and every one of you here with the Bulldog Pack. Carver culture is real. I've been in your halls at your school, so definitely very proud of you. One thing I want you to understand, that you actually are creating opportunities and avenues for other students. A lot of this, what you're doing, a lot of times you don't have a voice. And the fact of having the opportunity for the leadership and your team, and also you as the students wanting to step up. Proud of each and every one of you. And Bulldog Pack is real.
And nice picture selection as well. I'm hiding in the back there.
Well, and 2, we've got our next community alliance night tomorrow night, so anybody's available to come to Carver. We feed you at 5:30 we start our meeting, and then we're going to do a lot more planning with the community that night. And this team, a lot of them are going to be there to be that student voice during that process too. The Carver Community Alliance.
Community Alliance. So seeing no other questions or comments, great job again. Thank you for coming. The next item on our agenda is a school presentation from Expo Alternative Learning Center. And I believe we have Mr. Kerry Whelan, the principal, and staff, and the mascot.
Special visit by Eddie the Eagle tonight. He'll be in the back for photos later on.
Right.
So like Mr. Williams said, my name's Kerry Whelan. I'm the principal at Expo. I've been serving Expo for about 12 years. I love what Carver Bulldogs have done based on their leadership. Anytime that you can transfer leadership opportunities, that's best to be able to send those over to the kids for them to be able to have the ability to stand up. So tonight, we're going to be showcasing 3 of our students. Again, habit number 8, I see the Leader Valley people over here, is find your voice. So here we go.
Good evening. My name is Henry Shepard. I'm assistant principal. I've been at Expo for 15 years. Had to look for confirmation. Knox?
Hi, my name is Kyle Knox. I previously taught at Expo for 8 years as a social studies teacher. This is my first year as the Dean of Students.
Eddie the Eagle, how long have you been at Expo? All right, so tonight we have 3 of our students who are going to introduce themselves in a moment. And 2 of our students here tonight, we have our Leader Valley people here. 2 of our students are part of our student lighthouse team. If you're not aware, and if you haven't heard, Expo is a Leader in Me Lighthouse School, and we are the only alternative lighthouse school in the world to have that distinction, so we're pretty proud of that. So 2 of our lighthouse students are here, and another amazing, yes, do it. Yes. Another amazing young man here, one of our students, Jonas, he'll introduce himself. He's popped in and out of Lighthouse, but he has his own stuff that he's doing, and he'll share that, and we wanted him to have a voice here tonight as well. So we're going to begin with, we got some questions. It's kind of like a game show. We do not have a fancy PowerPoint, but we're going to make this work. So we're going to begin first with introduction. So if each of you could tell everybody your name, what year you are at Expo, how long you've been there, and your grade.
My name is Anthony Ellerman. I've been at Expo for 2 years, and I'm a junior with senior credits.
My name is Caitlin Moeller, and I'm a junior, and I've been at Expo since 8th grade when I was in the Bridges program.
My name is Jonas Dahlin. I am a sophomore with junior credits, and I've been there for just about a year now.
All right. Congratulations for you guys having credits beyond your grade. That's awesome. Next question for each of you. What is it you like about Expo?
What I like about Expo is the smaller setting. I like that I know most of the people in the hallways. I also like that because of the smaller setting, you get to make closer relationships with teachers, and I get to have a lot more responsibility at Expo than I did at any other school I was at.
Same question, Caitlin.
I like that how Expo gives people chances and opportunities for you to be able to grow as a person, and how the teachers are not just your teachers, but they act like your friends as well.
And Jonas, what do you like about Expo?
I like, again, the smaller setting, but I also enjoy knowing that the teachers are there for you, and they will be there for just about anything that you need.
And you can stay here and answer the next question. Talk to us about any kind of support you've received from staff at Expo. And I know you have a particular story you want to share.
My math teacher, Miss Fernandez, she was having troubles with me because I was having a problem learning math. And she tried like everything in the book to help me learn, and I really appreciated her for her help and what she did for me as a student.
And did you eventually learn math?
Yep, I have all of my math credits done, so.
Awesome. Come on up, same question. How have staff at Expo supported you, Caitlin?
They help me with. They help me learn and give me different ways I can learn something instead of just hand me a book or something or whatever. They help me kind of get to where I need to go and the different routes it can take to get there.
You started Expo in the Bridge program, which
Yes.
is 8th grade.
Mm-hmm.
So how's that different than maybe the journey that Anthony and Jonas have taken?
I've been able to get closer with the teachers, and it's a lot of familiar faces that if I went to a different high school with all new teachers, I got to kind of meet them before high school and get a chance to get to know them better. And
So you started in Bridge and this just stayed at Expo?
yeah.
All right. Anthony, staff at Expo, how have you received support?
I've received support from staff in Expo in many different ways. I've also had teachers who, because the online is really hard for me, some of the questions just confuse me. So I take offline English that my teacher has, made for me, and she lets me take as much time as I want to write an essay, which is very helpful. I also would never have done PE if it wasn't for Mr. Armstrong, the gym teacher there. I would have only done PE online, but he lets me ride the bike, so it's fun.
Hey, stay up here, Anthony. You're next. Talk to us about some activities or some things you participated in while attending Expo. And I know you have a few, and I know you're going to do a shout out for Lighthouse, right?
Yeah.
Under me.
Yeah, obviously. Well, I've helped out around prom. I did that before I did the UNI. I went to UNI to teach Habit 7 and Habit 6 to college students who are wanting to become teachers. I also helped around prom, and I do the announcements at school, which is really anxiety-inducing, but I do it anyways.
Okay, so you went up to UNI, you gave up a Saturday
Oh, yeah.
in February to teach college students. How do you feel about that?
Anxious, tired, and overwhelmed, but I did it. And I feel proud of myself, and it was a lot of fun.
I enjoyed having food afterwards.
Caitlin, come on up. Things you participated in while attending Expo.
I go to the Career Center. I took Introduction to Health, and right now I'm taking Medical Terminology. I am also a part of the Lighthouse team. I went to UNI as well to teach college students the habit 6 and 7, and I got to go to Iowa City for when we raised money for toys for the Children's Hospital, and I got to go take it to them.
Okay, Jonas.
I take classes at the Career Center. I take construction. I'm on my second semester for it. Hopefully next year I'm hoping on taking either truck driving or plumbing. But also while attending at Expo, I have done after school activities like soccer and cross country at East where they provide busing for us.
Okay. Last question here. One word to sum up your Expo experience, Jonas.
Creative. I chose creative because the teachers, they will try everything in the world to help you and help you learn the way that will help you the most.
Okay. Caitlin, one word.
I chose the word resilient because every student has a different backstory, and Expo does not let that break the student. It helps them grow and kind of bounce back and learn and just be able to succeed in their school environment.
And Anthony, your one word.
Transcending,
Why?
because Expo helped me to go a lot further in my life than I ever thought I was going to. And it made me realize I have a lot brighter of a future than I thought I did.
And help you find your voice.
Yes.
All right, these are our 3 students. What questions do you have for them?
Woo.
Surely somebody
So
has
what-
a question for these 3 young people.
What are your plans after high school? Like, have you thought about what you want to do? Have you worked with your awesome folks at
Yep.
Expo? What do you have going on?
My plan after high school is to become a nurse, and I've been able to achieve that by taking the Career Center classes.
Okay, Jonas?
My plan after school is I plan on being somebody in the construction trades. Plan on taking or going to a trade school. But I've also been able to reach the point where I want to do this because of the Waterloo Career Center. They have a whole lot of things. Just recently we went to Build My Future in Des Moines, and we got to reach out to a lot of people in that sort of trade business.
Anthony?
I would want to be a librarian if I was to be anything.
Any other questions?
Have you thought about radio journalism though, Anthony? Like, for real?
Me?
Yeah.
No, I have not. I thought about journalism, yes.
Anthony, when we talk about the habits and find your voice, right there, Anthony is a poster child of that. Because Anthony used to not speak at all, never speak, and has come so far and now does announcements for us to go up and teach students at UNI, be here tonight. We've come a long way. So you could be a broadcast journalist too. Yeah.
How does for the 2 of you taking classes at your WCC, how does your experience vary from how your classes go at Expo to how they go at WCC?
For me, I notice at the WCC it's practically just like a college. It's you come in, you don't really have a whole lot of instruction. Most of the time, you already know what you're supposed to be doing, and just about everybody does what they're supposed to be doing. So it's amazing for that at the Career Center.
Do you feel it pairs well with your Expo classes as well?
Yes, it is pretty similar to what we do at Expo.
Would you repeat the question for her?
Yes. How do you feel your experience is going between Expo and the WCC, and do you feel the classes are complement each other very well?
Yes, they treat us like adults there instead of like high school students. We have more like trust because we're in college classes.
I could see that. feeling similar to you guys, the way you talk about your expo staff? Does it give you kind of that same feel, that respect feel
Yeah.
that you, yeah?
Have you looked at the opportunity for next year? Because you'll be closer to the Career Center classes. Have you kind of explored the different careers that you might want to explore?
I have not looked at the different ones yet. I will be looking over them, but I think it's going to be easier to just walk over to like the Career Center and take more classes instead of limiting my classes because of like a bus or something like that.
That's a good point.
So I think it will be a lot easier for more students also to take the Career Center classes.
Jonas, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I like the idea that we're going to be having a place where people can take college classes or get college learning for students at Expo, and I believe that it would be very helpful for people to find themselves like job-wise.
Anything?
For me?
Yeah. Okay. All right.
I just want to say great job to the three of you young people for sharing your experience at Expo. I really appreciate that. I look forward to seeing what you do next. Who can tell me a little bit more about the Lighthouse team that you have there at Expo?
Anthony?
The Lighthouse team at Expo, we do a lot. We help out with Honor Flight in April, May. We have our own, kind of like Carver with their cookout they do, their community cookout. We have our own holiday meal every, in like maybe a week after Thanksgiving for the people, the kids that don't have Thanksgiving, or like a holiday type meal to have. So we have a huge feast in our gym, and people from the community come around, and we sing. We decorate. We also raise money for the Steadfast Children Hospital with the Pie in the Face that we do every year. We,
Dr. Smith has always
Oh, yeah.
volunteered.
He's been there a lot.
Any board member who would like to volunteer could certainly do that and help us raise money, right?
it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to get pied in the face and to do the pieing. I got to do
somebody who
two.
throws.
I did 2 of them. It was a lot of fun, and I'll never forget it.
Yep.
Thank you.
So what are your thoughts about the expo moving?
Not mine.
Everybody's, yours, yeah. Y'all is what I was trying to say, y'all's.
I think it's a great opportunity for students to figure out what they want to do now that they might not know that the Career Center exists or what classes are in the Career Center, so it'll give them more of a chance to figure out what classes they might want to take and what steps they want to take towards their future.
Anthony's nervous about it.
Nervous, not very keen on it. I'll give it a shot. I'll give it a quarter, and then if the new building, the unfamiliar setting, it's very nerve-wracking for someone who has already switched schools before. And like when I switched to Expo, I stopped going because the new school was so anxiety-inducing. So I'm just kind of nervous about how it's going to affect my school life, but I'm willing to give it a shot and to see how it is. And if I don't like it, I got to go to Grad Connect.
So recently, the construction class had moved to their new part on the building, so I already know the area around that, and I think it would be a really good opportunity for the students.
I'm glad, and I appreciate the honesty. I was hoping to hear good stuff, but I also knew that there would be hesitation. We all get uncomfortable when we have to move in new spaces. But child, you are up here talking in front of all. I think you can do it. I feel it. I feel it.
I would actually encourage you just to take a visit during off time, like during the summer or after hours, so maybe it's not so overwhelming. That's seemed to help some kids when they transition buildings, so.
Any other questions?
Is there anything else?
All right, thank you for having us tonight. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
as they make their way up. The next item on our agenda is item 12, the West High Journalism Student Travel to Kansas City, Missouri. At the February 26, 2024 board meeting, travel was approved for West High Journalism students and Nicole Goodman, advisor, to attend the JEA NSPA National Journalism Convention in Kansas City, Missouri, from April 3rd through the 7th. Nicole and several students will present about their experience at the conference. Welcome.
Thanks for having us back. I feel like we've been here a million times over the last 2 months, so I promise we'll leave you alone after tonight. We'll let you breathe a little bit. But like you said, we just got back like 2 weeks ago from the National High School Journalism Convention. We got approval back in February, and we were able to take a group of 5 students to Kansas City. We lucked out this year. It was really close to home. So they're just here to kind of share their experience and share what that trip was like.
Sorry, I wasn't prepared to read this one. So we got to go to a museum, and we explored Crown Center, where we got to ride on the train car, is that what it's called? Like a train car, and see different things. That was really pretty. When we got back, we got to make slime as a group on our first night, which is a fun bonding activity. And we also got to watch the Iowa game, which was cool to be able to say that we were from Iowa, because everyone there was pretty much rooting for Iowa, but we got to say we were from Iowa. We attended a lot of sessions that covered everything that we liked between design, writing, photography, leadership, interviewing, covering our student body. And we all got to compete in contests. We each got to compete in 2, where we won quite a few awards. And we also had the chance to collaborate with other students from all across the nation and just experience a lot of different things.
So it was in Kansas City, which if you know anything about the media, keep up with that. That's where Travis plays football, and Taylor Swift has been there before. So throughout the convention, they had different Travis posters and Taylor posters. So we got a few pictures with them. This is us after winning one of our awards for our magazine. We submitted our second quarter magazine and won 8th place with it. This is us outside of one of the museums taking a group picture. This was us after watching the Iowa game. We're all in the hotel room. We were happy after the win.
Don't worry, Tyler got his own hotel room.
Yes, Tyler was solo. This is us on one of the train cars. And then holding up all of our awards. We had a pink theme during the award ceremony, so we all dressed up. While we were there at one of the first nights, they had different tables set up, and we went to Walsworth, which is where our yearbook is through, and we found our yearbook on display, so we took a picture with that. This is us when we were watching the Iowa game, finding out that we won. We had to be quiet. Quiet time was at 10, so silent cheer.
Hello. Oh. Sorry. Me again. I learned a lot on this trip. It was kind of like my last trip as a student journalist at West, so it was kind of sad, but it was also really fun. I got to learn that having a supportive team, such as mine, it really makes all the difference. The first night we found out I wasn't a finalist for the National Journalist of the Year, but when we got back to the hotel room, we did karaoke for like 3 hours to cheer me up. And I also got to meet other Journalists of the Year from different states, which was really cool to see how their programs work and how they lead versus how I lead. And even though I'm leaving the program, I got to learn so much that I can pass down to the juniors, sophomores, and freshmen that will be there next year. And I also went to a session that helped me better my sports photography, which I've already been able to use since we got back with some tennis meets. I also won 2 more national awards, which brings my senior year total to 6, which is really exciting. I also learned it's really important to keep anti-nausea medication on hand because I got very sick on the way there and on the way back. And it was just overall really beautiful. As you can see, there's tulips everywhere, and those are my grandma's favorite flowers, so I took pictures every time I saw them, and it was just really beautiful.
I
attended an in-person critique session where some of the work was reviewed. Specifically, 3 theme contests were discussed during this session. During the session, they said first, like, not everyone's work would be up there, but mine was up there and they got to critique me. At first, I was a little nervous because the critiques I was hearing, I was like, oh, maybe I won't place, but I did end up placing for that. With the contest that I did, I only had 3 days to make the theme, a theme people page. I technically only had 2 days because they had an error with the theme. Then in one of the sessions named 8th grade yearbook ideas, I learned about grids, theme package, and use of type. And then I came home with 2 national awards, honorable mention, and 6th place, which made our unreleased yearbook award winning.
So, like they have mentioned previously, there was like a wide variety of different classes they offered. They were all 45-minute sessions, and they were taught by either different advisors, students that just graduated, or people teaching other programs. So it was a really cool experience, and they had a wide variety of different classes from photojournalism, photography, journalism, broadcasting. I enjoyed a lot of the photojournalism classes that I attended, and I took a lot from those. Also on the first night with all the different tables, they had a lot of college representatives there for the journalism program, which is kind of cool to see because I feel a lot of the kind of like the career day, things like that, isn't always targeted towards journalism. So it was cool to kind of see the different options, especially going into college. And they had one from Iowa there, so I thought that was cool. I also love the idea of being able to collaborate with different students, as well as different advisors from middle schools and high schools to kind of see how their programs work. Each person that I talked to had a different program setting. Either they had like hundreds of students on them, or only having like 8 people, or they're starting their program up and they were able to come, or they've been doing it for years. So it's kind of cool to see like the different environment that they're from, and how can we like pick things that they're doing well and apply it to our program. I was also co-editor, or I am co-editor for our magazine. So we submitted our quarter 2, which was mine and Mallory's first position as editor magazine, and we won 8th place for it. So it was a national award that we got to bring home. Allie Knight, who was not able to be here tonight, she had work, but these were some of her big takeaways. So she liked to talk with different people that were in the journalism profession that gave a lot of different tips and little tricks in that field and how to better their writing for different aspects. She also enjoyed the sessions that they had for everybody's interest. Like I mentioned, journalism, photography, yearbook themes, magazine layout, and so many different more. She also added that they got to work with the programs from other schools and compare how what we do is the same and what we do is different, and things that we might want to add onto our program.
Is it working? Okay. I don't want to get too close to the microphone. So while we were there, I really enjoy photography. It's one of my favorite hobbies to do outside of school, and they had a lot of sessions for bettering photography, and I think it's really exciting because I'll be able to use that later on in life if I continue my hobby, that is. And I can also teach the current members that are going to be here next year how to better their photography. And there was also one that I got to go to for leadership excellence, and it taught me a lot about being a good editor-in-chief, and I feel pretty confident now that I can pass down some knowledge to the next one. And there's this really cool thing that I heard about there. It was an editor notebook. So what they did is like each editor from the years would write in the notebook, and then they'd pass it down to the next year, so that you have a lot of information, and I thought that was really cool. I also got to learn about like bettering writing skills, which for pretty obvious reasons is going to be very helpful for a newspaper. And since I'm going off to college next year, it's going to be good because there's a lot I need to know about writing still. And my last takeaway is that Kansas City has really good food. I'm very motivated by food, so yeah. Oh, and I didn't write this on there, but that top picture kind of cut off a little bit. I got 4th place for editorial leadership, which was really fun. And then the next 2 pictures are the food that I ate. It was really good.
And then some takeaways from me. While the convention is geared towards a lot of students and student learning, there's also a lot of sessions that were geared towards advisors. And kind of to echo what they were saying of being surrounded by other schools and different students and kind of seeing how different programs operated or how people, whether you had a program of 100 student journalists or you had a program of 6 that were small but mighty. It's kind of the same thing with advisors. I got to meet with a lot of different advisors from around the country for middle schools, for high schools, ones that have super developed in those massive award-winning programs versus ones that are maybe kind of restarting like where we're at or kind of in the slow build-up. And so whenever people ask me how the trip was when I got back, like all my coworkers, I kept saying, this is like the best professional development I've ever experienced. I got to judge contest entries. I got to sit down with people who, like they were saying, other student journalists who get it, kind of other advisors who get it. I have a huge support system here, but sometimes people just don't quite understand what it is unless they're in that role. So I made a lot of really great professional friends around the nation that I now get to kind of collaborate with and create my own little virtual PLC. But I was able to, like I said, judge, kind of attended sessions about building programs, kind of building your dream programs, how do you start from the ground up, also kind of thinking towards the future. If everything passes and we do become kind of one high school, what does that look like? Kind of thinking through a future of journalism at West, but also our journalism in Waterloo, kind of thinking with that end in mind of building that dream program. How do we get there? What do we do? So I was able to do quite a lot of things, and it was a really amazing experience. I'll share some of our overall takeaways. I don't know if you all have heard the fun story, but one of our takeaways is have a backup plan for every single backup plan, because on our way home, our van wouldn't start. So we had a school van, and of course the ceremony ended at like 7 p.m. It was already going to be a late night, but that became a much later night. So we got it up and running. We had like 3 people offer to help kind of jumpstart our van, and after the second time of it not working, that's when my panic really set in. But once the hotel came and just let it charge for like 10 minutes, we finally got going and we got back on the road. So have a backup plan to every backup plan. And now we can laugh about it. It's a fun story to tell. Compare your program to your program. It's really easy to kind of look at those award-winning, those super established, those programs that maybe have been bringing in the pacemaker, that like top national award year after year. But it's never really a fair comparison, because like they were also sharing, you have those programs that have those hundreds of kids. You have those programs that are really small. The best comparison is just kind of compare to yourself and how can you improve, how can you continue to push. And that was something I'm really proud of them, is they got to see all these award-winning programs, but it was never really a super big comparison of like, oh, that'll never be us, or oh, that can't be us. It was how do we take the things that they're doing and make our program better? Like how do we take that next step? And then lastly, journalism can be fun, but journalism can be hard work, but it should also be fun. There's a lot of joy in what they do, and these group of kids and our entire program, they have a great they do a great job of bringing in that fun. Like they joked around, we went to Dollar General night 1 and bought supplies to make slime at the hotel. They know how to have fun no matter what we do. So finding the joy in everything. And then they mentioned we brought home 7 different awards or pieces of recognition. So for feature writing, Allie got an honorable mention. For yearbook theme design, Mariah earned an honorable mention. For editorial leadership, Tyler earned 4th place. For yearbook spread design, Mariah earned 6th place. For diversity, equity, and inclusion reporting or an article, Allie won 7th place. Our news magazine won 8th place overall, and then Allie was also recognized for Iowa Journalist of the Year. So we had a very successful time, and I will say like these are all national awards that they now get to kind of add, like put a feather in their cap, but also bring home for the entire program. For the state of Iowa, we were one of 2 schools to bring home any awards. So it was a very, very exciting to kind of to see that success for them. And then looking forward, I'm sure their comments kind of ring true and mine as well. It was a very great experience. Looking forward, I would love if we could make it kind of an experience that more students can have. However, we lucked out this time with it being in Kansas City. Next year, if you kind of see on there, not as close to home. In Philadelphia and Seattle, they do one twice a year. But they kind of rotate East Coast, West Coast, Midwest-ish. And so it kind of rotates throughout the years. But after going for the first time, and I think they would all say the same thing, it's something that all students within the journalism program should experience in some capacity. It was an amazing experience. And so thank you all for your constant support. And we will leave you alone at these board meetings. We'll give you a break from us, but we appreciate it because we couldn't do what we do without each and every one of you.
What was
So-
the certification, though, that you skipped
Oh,
over
yeah.
for yourself?
Yeah, I did skip over that. I took a CJE exam, so it's not required to like teach journalism. Within the state of Iowa, I have the English All Endorsement, which certifies for journalism. But a lot of journalism advisors become a CJE and then a master or an MJE. So it's just a certified journalism educator. And so it's something that a lot of journalism teachers do to kind of, in a way, prove themselves, but really just kind of say, like, I know what I'm doing, I have this. And so during the convention, I took it as an opportunity because they do a testing session every convention. And it was about 3 hours of sitting down and writing all these answers. They quizzed and tested you on law and ethics and like copyright laws, media. It was really just to make sure you kind of, you know everything under the umbrella of journalism. So I walked out feeling confident, but I still haven't gotten the results back. So TBD on that.
Well, it looks like national next year. I mean, I think you should plan for it, and it may take a little more fundraising, in advance. Those are a little more distance. Can't take a school van there,
Little
for better or
permanent.
worse.
I don't know if after it not starting, we want to take a school van to Seattle.
Yeah, but I think, I think it sounds like both places could be great opportunities for kids, and a number of kids that probably barely step foot outside the state sometimes, and there's a chance to really see a.
Absolutely, I agree.
Does East have a newspaper yearbook program also, right?
Yes, they have a yearbook program, and then in talking with Carla Cook over at East, they're restarting their newspaper program for next year. So it's been in our program of studies, but they populated the students to get that up and moving again.
So you guys could look at doing more things like together then going
Yes,
forward too.
yes.
That would be great.
Congratulations to the entire team. Looking forward to whatever college you're going to. They're going to be really excited to have you, especially if you're going into journalism. So congratulations to you all.
Any questions? I see you have on here, thank you again to us, but we would like to extend that to you, and thank you. I think this is some of the easier things that we do is approve opportunities for our students to participate in these ventures that not only help you in your growth, but gives an example for students that follow behind you, and you as well, Ms. Goodman, how you talked about how much you learned, and you've now got another community, PLC community that you can reach out to better you and to help advise as well. So we want to commend you all on behalf of the board for doing this. It seems like you all are in your comfort zone, but I know when you travel and you get away from what you're used to in your building, it could be a little difficult and different. And you represented not only Waterloo and West High, Waterloo as a community, but you represented the state of Iowa as well. So awesome job. You continue to amaze us as a board. So you make it easy for us to approve things like that for you and your peers to follow. And it looks like you guys had a lot of fun, and we appreciate you bringing this information back and sharing it with the board of all your experiences too. So thank you. Job well done. One thing I will ask real quick, I know we have a long agenda, but can you all talk about what your plans are after? I know Director Matlock talked about possibly going into journalism at your school, but what are your plans for the future?
So my plan is to attend Iowa, and I'm going to go for journalism and hopefully a minor in photography.
I'm going to go to Wartburg College. I'm going to cheer there, and I'm also going to help them rebuild their newspaper, which shut down after COVID.
I can't wait till I talk to Dr. Peer about you.
Well, I'm going to Hawkeye. I'm going to do their 2-2 program with Allen College, and I'm going to go for nursing.
Nice.
I'm going to go to UNI to get my all-science teaching degree for a high school level.
Nice. Are there any more questions? It is. Thank you again. Job well done.
Thank you all again.
Moving right along in our agenda, the next item on our agenda is a board celebration of the Waterloo Youth City Council. And pulling members from all four of the high schools in Waterloo, the Youth City Council empowers young people to think critically, debate civilly, and forge consensus on the most critical issues facing our city. Following in the footsteps of other successful Youth City Council programs, the Waterloo Youth City Council seeks to harness the passion and idealism of our youth today in order to create a better future for tomorrow. And I believe we have Ms. Carol Luce.
That is correct. First of all, thank you for allowing us to present Dr. Smith, Pam, and the school board. You have to be awfully proud of your schools and of your students. Hearing today what they all have accomplished, and that reflects a lot on you and what you have empowered our students to do. So kudos to you for your hard work and dedication to the school board. The Waterloo Youth City Council is just a baby. We're just starting our 6th year. How many of you have heard of the City Council, Waterloo Youth City Council? Few. So I'm glad I'm here today. We're starting our 6th year. It is an initiative of Mayor Hart. There are only 5 youth city councils in the state of Iowa. We are one of the 5. Most cities have a youth advisory board. That is totally different than a youth city council. Our mission statement is to explore, communicate, and provide for the needs, the problems, the issues, in the activities affecting Waterloo youth. We run our meetings much like you do. We have agendas. We use Robert's rules. They elect officers. We have bylaws that were written by the students, and we have committees. We have a mayor pro tem, a parliamentarian, and we have representatives for each of the wards that we have within our city. We represent East, West, Expo, and Columbus. Requirements are that they live in Waterloo or attend a Waterloo high school. It's open to 10th through 12th graders. We're also open to homeschool families, and we have 28 positions. We have 12 from West, East has 9, Expo has 4, and Columbus has 4. That is determined by the size of their school. We use Leader in Me, thank you, Melissa, because our students take that first habit to heart. Be proactive. It begins with me. The Waterloo Youth City Council empowers the young people to think critically, debate civically, and I do mean civically. And they forge concerns on the most critical issues facing our city and our youth. We meet on the 3rd Wednesday of the month. We start in August and go until May. During the summer, they work in their committees. In September, we do a historical tour of Waterloo. We know about the oldest school building in Waterloo, and we are working on getting a plaque to be put on that building so everybody in the city knows that that was one of our Waterloo Community Schools building. In October, we offer suicide prevention workshops with Alive and Running. And in February and March, we're off to the state capitol to meet with their elected officials and discuss issues facing our youth. But this year was different. Our students wrote a grant to the Waterloo Community Schools Foundation, and I do mean the students wrote the grant. That is one of the requirements. And we received funds to take 8 of our students to Washington, D.C., so they could meet with their elected officials and network with states from across the United States. And tonight, we have one of our students to tell about her trip.
My name is Cheyenne White. I am a junior at East High. I have been on the Waterloo Youth City Council for 2 years now. Going into the DC trip, I wasn't expecting much. I had 2 goals in mind, meet new people and learn new things. I wasn't expecting, I didn't know what I was gonna expect, but I went there, and the Waterloo Youth City Council was the only group of students that were kind of like us. Everybody else was from just schools, trying to learn more about political issues. But we are also like the only ones that passed a bill. So it was really nice to interact with a lot of different students from all over the nation who had no idea that they had a voice in their community, that they had a voice in their state. But talking to them, we told them our story, and we kind of told them that it is possible for them to have a voice in their community, state, and nationwide.
Thank you, Cheyenne. Some of our accomplishments, as Cheyenne indicated, we advocated and passed a state law that mental health resources are on the back of every student ID card across the state of Iowa, which is helping over 500,000 students, and that was done here. They sponsor and train over 75 youth and citizens on suicide prevention. They funded and developed 3 mental health public service announcements that aired over 5,000 airings on radio and also on the TV. And one of their PSAs received an Emmy. Awesome work. The Waterloo Youth City Council is important to our youth because while on the council, they will develop healthy civic habits and skills on how to communicate. Youth have a special perspective, as you have seen tonight, a perspective on local issues, and they often bring new ideas of change. At this time, I have something that I would like passed out to your board, where we cordially invite you to attend our May 15th celebration. Thanks, Pam. And you can have the opportunity to pose with our Emmy. Do you have any questions?
So where do you meet?
We meet at the Waterloo Center for the Arts.
Okay.
On the 3rd Wednesday at 4 o'clock, and it is open to the public. And as Cheyenne said, when they were in their breakouts and they talked about the education of passing a bill, they were the ones that got to educate the rest of the students on how it was done. So we are very proud, and you should be too. of your students, not only the ones that presented tonight, but the ones that are coming up to take leadership roles in your community. Nothing else?
So Cheyenne, how did you decide to get involved, and what are your plans going forward?
So my sophomore year, I had one of our advisors as my history teacher, and she was kind of like, I think you'd like this, you enjoyed it, so I kind of just joined it for fun to see if I would like it, and I ended up really liking it. It's taught me so much going further. Right now, what I'm doing for the future is kind of up in the air. Tomorrow, I do take my CNA test to see if I can get my license, but I think I'll stick to that for a while. I'm not really sure.
Have you been out at the Career Center?
Yes.
Just FYI, on this trip, 3 of the students had never been out of the state of Iowa. 2 of the students had never flown. They would not have had this opportunity if it wasn't for the Waterloo Community School Foundation and funds from the Waterloo Youth City Council. So again, thank you for all that you do, and thank you for supporting our students.
Getting that put on the back of the IDs, it's a big deal. I remember several years ago in SIAC, Bailey, he was one of the young men, and we were talking about it at the time, and I didn't realize how far you guys went with it. You know, I didn't know, I don't pay much attention sometimes. So anyway, congratulations. It's more meaningful than I think any of us understand.
We appreciate that. It means a lot to us to have support from you guys and from our community to get things done like the things that we have got done.
Hold on, 1 second. As a parent of a former Waterloo Youth City Council member, the excitement that my son had being a part of that organization, getting him out of his comfort zone. I remember him coming home talking about the bill and going down. It was like 5 or 6 in the morning. The bus left to go to Des Moines, to go to Capitol Hill, and to present this. So I just remember, and other students as well. I communicate with other students, but just putting those students in a position to do something that's right, or fight for something that's right, or that is important beyond themselves, that they can take back to their school and their community. I do want to say thank you, Ms. Luce, for all the hard work and dedication that you put into this program. I remember you coming to my son's open house and congratulating him. So I know that this means a lot to you, and you care for the students genuinely. So I'm not sure how often you get this, but we want to say, or I want to say, thank you for all that you pour into this program and the youth in our community, and what you do.
I appreciate that very much. And be sure and tell Manny to come on the May 15th celebration. He would be so proud.
I will. He'll be home then.
Good,
Yes.
good. Thank you. Thanks
Thank
again.
you. Moving right along in our agenda, item 14, the Waterloo Open Enrollment Study, and this is for information only. And we have Sheena Kennedy, Director of Student and At-Risk Services. Open enrollment is a process by which a parent or guardian residing in an Iowa district may enroll their child or children into another Iowa school district under the terms and conditions of Iowa Code 282.18 and Iowa Administrative Code 281-17. This past fall, the Student Services Department performed a root cause analysis of the current state of open enrollment in the Waterloo schools. A total of 430 cold calls were made to households in which students are currently open enrolled out of the district. Parents were asked the following 3 questions, and I'll let Sheena talk a little bit about what that entailed.
Sure. Thank you for having me. So I wanted to start, before we get to the root cause analysis, I just wanted to point your attention to 3 graphics that you should have in your packet. I think the first starts on page 16. That information just provides a really good overview of our current reality as a district. And so I've provided at a glance data that looks at the funding. It also gives you the numbers of open enrollments in and out, as well as our current reality with ESA, so educational savings accounts, so you can look at that to get just a quick overview of where we are in those 3 categories. Then I've also included a 5-year trend, so dating back to 2019 to 20, that just kind of showcases how we trend as a district, both open enrollment out and open enrollment in. And then the last chart on page 16 really captures the receiving districts by number. So it looks at all of the districts that our students open enroll out to and the number of students attending those districts. Again, that's just to provide some context. It's also to set the stage for this particular endeavor that Student Services embarked on, because this was the first set of data that we really truly looked at. So back in fall, Dr. Smith tasked each of the departments with looking at a strategic plan or developing a strategic plan. And so as we were having our conversations in Student Services, one of the big pieces that came up was open enrollment, right? We all have this bias towards the amazing things that Waterloo can offer. And so quickly a question became, why do we have so many students that are choosing, or a high number of students that are choosing to leave our district for other districts? And so lo and behold, as the leader of the department, I tasked the department, all 10 of us, to embark on a journey of literally picking up the phone and calling 430 households. So it had amounted to, if my math is right, about 43 calls per person. We had a success rate of 43%, which I'm really proud of, because research tells us cold calls are about 10% effective. They're not very effective, but we needed some way to get information. So we made those 430 calls. Again, success rate of 43%, so we reached 185 households. When we got the individuals on the phone, the parents on the phone, we asked those 3 questions. The first was, what's the primary reason why you chose to leave our district? Or in some cases, you never attended. So we have quite a few students who left in kindergarten and they've been out since. So they never even gave Waterloo a chance. As you can see the breakdown on page 17 there, the primary reasons listed, the first being continuous. So continuous simply means family moves to Waterloo physically, but they want their child to continue receiving their education in the district that they left. Example being a family moves from Hudson to Waterloo, they want their child to remain in Hudson. That's a majority of our open enrollments out. To be honest, I think it's around 260 of our students that's the case for them. The second most common answer given was school and class sizes. So if you look at the chart that I provided, quite a few of those districts are much smaller than we are. Third was negative experience. We listed 2 categories of negative experience, a peer negative experience or a staff negative experience. Unfortunately, third was negative experience from a staff member, and then the list goes on and on. Opportunity, perception, proximity to other districts, conflict of some sort, parent job location, peer negative experience, custodial arrangement, childcare, and you get the gist. So highly informative, and to be completely honest, the one thing that I gathered from this myself is, and we have it in our mind, the reasons why, right? But when you ask these questions, it paints kind of a different picture for us. So that was the breakdown of the first question. The second question we asked was, did you give us a chance to fix it, right? So if it was so bad that you felt like you needed to leave or you didn't want to attend to begin with, is there something that you allowed us to do? 40 out of the 185 said yes. So 21% said yes. They attempted to allow us to resolve it, but the vast majority said no. So 117 out of the 185 said no. There's quite a few scenarios where it wasn't applicable, like proximity to a parent's job. There's not much we can do about that. And then 5 said they preferred not to disclose. So that was the second question. And then the third question we asked is, what can we do to get you back, right? Are you willing to return, or would you ever consider returning to Waterloo schools? 63% said yes, 106 said no, and then the remaining 16 said they prefer not to disclose. So our follow-up to this, after we presented to DLT, we took a part of our action steps around this engagement was to just bring awareness to it, right? Make sure the DLT is aware of it, make sure our building principals are aware of it, make sure the assistant principals are aware of it, and hopefully teachers, so on and so forth down the line, and then presenting to the board as well for a level of awareness. So when we took it to DLT, one of the action steps that came out of that conversation was to give the 63 that said yes, they would potentially consider returning to us a call to ask about next steps. And so that's exactly what we did. Again, all 10 of us in student services picked up the phone again, and we just said, hey, and this was about a month and a half ago, we said, hey, what can we do to get you back? What are next steps for you? Quite a few, actually a majority said, we changed our mind, not really interested, which tells us once we lose students, it's very difficult to get them back. But we were able, through just those calls, to solicit 5 of the 63 that had indicated, that they were interested in returning. So, long process, but in all honesty, one of, I think, the best things we've done in student services to date as the keeper of the data. Our next steps, I kind of mentioned the first one, the next steps are really awareness, right? As a building principal, I'll be completely honest, there weren't many telling me much about open enrollment and the impact that it has on a district. So now having this balcony view, I think is really, really important to make sure it's known to all of our internal stakeholders, just the level of impact that open enrollment has on our district. In student services, we're also, another action step is to continue monitoring this data. The unfortunate reality of open enrollments out of our district is it's very retroactive, because if a family wants to open enroll, let's say to Cedar Falls, they start that process in Cedar Falls. So they get the application in Cedar Falls, they turn it into Cedar Falls. We know about it in many cases after it's already been approved. So there's not a whole lot we can do to be proactive other than the daily engagements with that family, ensuring that we're providing the best for students, so on and so forth. And so when we get new applications, we're still engaging in this process. Our registrars are still calling the families to ask those 3 questions. Why did you leave? What could we have done better? Is there any way we could get you back? And then lastly, we've been taking a very, very good look at our programming and our systems, I should say, to ensure that we are not utilizing all 18 of our buildings and what they have to offer. An example that I would give is, prior to me taking on this role, we have voluntary transfers is what we call it. So yearly parents can fill out an application to go to a building other than theirs, and we call that voluntary transfers. Well, for whatever reason, and I don't know the history behind it, but there were limited schools that a student could transfer into and or out of. And so this year, we are, Student Services has put it in front of DLT and the administrators to open that up to ensure that, again, we're providing options. We're truly utilizing all 18 of our buildings, because I think the 3 student groups that we showcased tonight give a strong illustration of the greatness that we have to offer. So those are truly the 3 action steps. I know this is something that, as a DLT, we plan to circle back to on a regular basis, just to problem solve and continue keeping this information at the forefront. Any questions for me?
I appreciate your work on the data and work to collect the data. I think an interesting stat might be to see a breakdown on the continuous out versus schools are going.
Continuous out.
Versus what schools are going to.
Okay.
Should be able to break that.
Yeah, yep. So
That might be foretelling a little bit. So.
Sure. Yeah, we can absolutely get that data. Like I said, a majority they've moved here and they want to remain. But we have enough information through the application process to disaggregate that data in that way.
Once you have that, you can look at which ones are out of reason and are what Do we got specific buildings that we need to work on?
Sure.
For whatever reason?
So the following the move to Waterloo, that's not something that they could do before the open enrollment became legal, right? Like before, if you moved to Waterloo, did you stay in Waterloo? Did you have to switch, or could you always?
You could always.
You could always, okay.
What's the nature of the 79 open enrolls in?
Can you elaborate? What?
Where are they open enrolling into?
So those are into our district from other districts.
Right, but why and?
We didn't go
where?
that far. So our initial focus was to look at open enroll out. But I'm guessing it's because of the amazing opportunities that Waterloo provides.
Well, it'd be interesting to know a little more detail because of, you know, whatever the strong suit is, you can maybe market that a little better.
Sure. Yeah.
Do you foresee more, because aren't the ESAs going to open up more now, like isn't the criteria going to change, right?
Yes.
So do you foresee that number changing as well then, or have you not really heard
Yeah,
much?
so ESA has been kind of tricky. Getting the data was very difficult for us. We arrived at it, I think, like a month ago in the beds report. But at present, the last number that I came across was 16,757 students in Iowa have taken advantage of ESAs. Our new applications last year were 187. Currently we have 600 and, I don't know what the number is, 684 total. I can imagine, that we will likely see, if not the same number of students. Yeah.
What do you mean 684 total what?
ESA, so students that attend private schools that are residents here that we have to provide funding for. ESA accounts.
Just the ESAs?
Yes, so the two different numbers there. ESA and open enrollments are two different numbers essentially.
But the ESA
But
number-
it's the 187 that I was looking at, the new ones. That's because we had been talking about that a lot of the ones that were getting ESA were kids who were already in the private school system. And so there were 187 new kids though.
Right.
Right, but we're some kindergarten though. I guess that's a lot. I don't like data either.
So before ESAs?
Yep.
We had 1,150 students attending non-public school that resided in our district.
Sure.
So what's that number now, total? Do you
So
know?
the number that I'm aware of, and the way that we calculate this is based on the beds report. And so in beds, the total number listed was 684. That is the number of individuals that are receiving an ESA. Some of those have been grandfathered in. I don't know if it's calculating all 1,000, if that was the number that you're
No.
looking at.
There's
but
kids who don't get the ESAs who
Sure,
are,
yep.
yeah.
So 684 was the number that is reported to us.
But we don't have a total of district students attending non-public school.
I don't have that total, no. And in fact, when we called to get this information at the beginning of the school year, it was very difficult to come by. The way by which we were able to get this information was through the beds report. But my guess is, yes, there are private school students that are not taking
Well,
advantage
and
of the
beds
ESAs.
aren't-
Or don't qualify.
Well, the
Or
beds
don't
aren't
qualify.
exact because if you look at the beds that are private, they could be coming from multiple cities into that. You don't know exactly what, you may not, like, say Valley of Lutheran could have kids from Cedar Falls and Waterloo, you wouldn't necessarily know
Yep.
based on their beds, purely what that is, what percentage is ours.
There's a report
Okay.
that breaks that out. I don't remember exactly what it is. It's on the state website.
Sure. I'll have to look at it.
And this probably doesn't account for also any partials we have, like if we got kids coming to the Career Center or something else, taking, or IBAP classes that are taking classes here, are getting, we get partial number 4. That's just a pure number, but there's some partial pieces that we would get funding for.
And to clarify, the 684 is a funded number for us in Waterloo Schools. So that's us giving dollars to private schools or those that choose to capitalize based on homeschooling status. The additional, I don't know, 400, if that's the case, we're not necessarily having to pay dollars
So
for.
that's, is that the number we get the $1,120 for?
Yes, yep. So for ESAs, we give a portion of per pupil dollars, but we also keep a portion.
This looked like it was not an easy task at all. Like, I have to, give you guys props. Cold calling people for any reason is not fun, and cold calling them about why'd you not want to come to Waterloo couldn't have been fun either. So thank you guys for doing this. This is really good information to dig into.
I think I have a career in car salesman. Maybe that's what I was told by my office staff. They said I did a really nice job being persuasive for them not to hang up on me. So all in all, it was a very good experience, and I think well worth it. If anything, I learned a lot, as Director of Student Services about open enrollment and all the things and all the reasons. And so being able to share a snippet of that knowledge, I think, is beneficial to our district.
Just want to share.
sorry.
Go ahead, John. I just want to share with the board and the community, I'm sure this has been a focus of ours in the past, but it's really becoming a focus of ours moving forward. We kind of glossed over that number real quick, but the amount of money leaving this district, and again, it's more about the students and more about the learning that we can give them. But just looking at the pure number that follows those kids, it's $4.7 million that's leaving our district this year. That's on that graphic she's got. So, as we're looking at getting leaner as a district, there's a lot of things we're looking at in terms of budget reductions. We're just tossing around some ideas. But there's a part of it that has to hey, how can we keep this money from leaving our district? So we've talked with our principals, our building leadership a few times about what are you doing to ensure kids don't leave? Because you guys you've probably all been there. If you've got kids where you have a bad experience with your kid with either a classmate or a teacher, and in the past, it wasn't that easy to leave the district. Now it's pretty darn easy for that kid. So you can just imagine when kids go home and say, I don't like it in this school. I want to go somewhere else. I don't like it in this district. We've got to be proactive in making sure that we're doing everything we can to keep those kids. And Sheena mentioned our voluntary transfer rules. I would rather try every option in this district than let them leave the district. So, of course, if they're in a building, we want to make it work in that building. But if all else fails and they're in an elementary school and it's not working there for whatever reason, and we feel like we've exhausted all options, I'd rather look at allowing them to look at another school within our district to see if that's a better fit than losing them to Cedar Falls and losing them to Hudson. So that's something we're just trying to really emphasize with our school leadership, is that that's part of your job as a leader, is to look for ways to make it work. If it's an issue with the staff member, an issue with a student, whatever it is, please work with that family and try to make things right as best you can. So I just want you guys to hear that. That's been an extreme focus of ours as we're putting together our dashboard, which I'm excited to show you guys for next year. That's going to be one of the metrics you see right away, is our open enrollment numbers as well. So just know it's major. This is one of our major focuses moving forward.
I believe we still got some restrictions on open enrollment on building placement as well. Is that accurate?
Building placement,
open enrollment in
maybe a couple buildings, but not.
Yeah, no, I would say, if a student comes in with a designation like disability or something, we have to be strategic about placing them in the right building to receive, the right programming. But beyond those type of scenarios, I think we do allow families to choose pretty freely.
And it's a big brain shift, right? It is. So when I was a kid, or even when my kids were little, if there was a problem in a classroom, sometimes it could get frustrating, and it felt like a lot of times you were even told, your kid's not moving classrooms, and I think I love that this is where your thought is if that doesn't work for this kid, this family, let's do what we can. And it's just a new way to think about education. It's completely different than how we've approached it before. But with the mobility people have now, it makes a lot of sense. It does. I mean, not just willy-nilly, but,
Yes.
I think it'd be kind of interesting, that was just added, especially with the root cause analysis, is if they could have said anything positive. If they could have said anything positive. And then also looking at the students that are opting out of our district and possibly being able to have something, of, what was good. I think we need to look at trying to, I think a theme would come out of that, of what's good about this district. Because I think sometimes we find individuals sometimes contradicting themselves. They get into their feelings. And it's not really a real conscious choice. And so I think that would be kind of interesting for, just to keep that in mind. It's not always about what's being taken away, but it's also what we have. I think as we move forward, I think we really have to focus on what we are doing good. Because it would be interesting if they would say something positive or not. I think the other thing is when you're looking at different populations, and you're looking at the ones that are opting out. What kind of sequence of process, if they had a particular issue, what does that process look like for us to be involved? Because it might be something dealing with a teacher. Well, if it's dealing with a teacher, of course, you're looking at the school administrator and that kind of thing. Would something like that, would you get, would your office, how involved would your office get? Let me ask you that.
So we receive calls daily, just to be supportive of building administration and families as well, and so we're highly involved. And this is actually brought up at the principal's PD, to Dr. Smith's point. We have to be super intentional about the service that we provide to both students and to families, right? Picking up the phone to have a conversation when things are difficult, answering, the phone. Not to say that our principals don't, but we absolutely have to be responsive. And I think for the most part, we truly are. But as you see in the data, there's some cases that we don't get a warning, right? It's just that easy to fill out an application and choose to go elsewhere, unfortunately. And we receive that information on the backside.
Anything else for Sheena? Thank you.
Thank
you and your
you.
team for all the work that you put into this.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yep. Moving right along, we're halfway there. We're just a little bit over the hump. So, the next item on our agenda is the consent agenda. Tonight's consent agenda consists of 6 items: approval of minutes of the April 8th, 2024 regular board meeting, personnel appointments and adjustments, bills due and payable and bills paid between board meetings, set date of public hearing for the East High AC Split System project and approve notice to bidders, set date of public hearing for the West High AC Split System project and approve notice to bidders, and board meeting dates. Are there any items that board members want removed from the consent agenda?
Item 4, please.
Item 4. Yes.
Yep.
Just 4, you want to tackle 4 and 5 together?
Yeah.
So just 4?
It's the
Okay.
same question, the same answer.
Okay. So,
just do 4.
yep, just 4.
You don't need to do them both because you have to do a separate
Yep.
motion for each one.
So can I get a motion to put items 1, 2, 3, 5, and 6?
So moved.
Second.
And all those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion carried. Now to item 4.
I move the Board of Education approve the date of June 10th, 2024 to hold a public hearing for the East High air conditioning split system project and approve publication of a notice of bidders.
Second.
Question? Wow.
Yeah, what's the nature of that? I know there was some consideration of windows maybe. Is it 100% now split?
It's a mixture of a couple different strategies between east and at west. There's a few air handling units at west that we're reusing some ductwork and infrastructure that's already there. East doesn't have some of that, so the strategy is a little bit, it kind of varies depending on what part of the school that you're in. But there's a combination of window air conditioners, split systems, and then the air handling units that I mentioned.
So is it primarily the mini splits or primarily?
I would say primarily the window air conditioners, and then a good portion of west would be covered by the air handling units.
Is that the south end of west?
Yes.
Utility room?
Yep, the 2 areas where there's 3 stories mainly. So it would include the office, administration, the 2 floors above it, and then the other classroom wing that goes to the north.
Yeah. Okay, and Zach is comfortable with the,
Yeah, we've walked through both buildings, went through pretty much the strategy for both. Did a full walkthrough, so Zach's aware of what we're planning.
so what's the annual maintenance, if you will, of the windows? Are they removed or not?
We have not put numbers to the maintenance side, but we could look at that if you'd like to see that.
Yeah, I think that needs to be included in the total cost. I know they're a little cheaper initially, but maintenance is that your experience, maintenance is more?
They can be. Zach shared that he's generally been seeing 10 to 15 years out of the window airs that are currently in both schools, which I would put as comparable to a mini split.
I guess I'd like to learn a little bit more about the maintenance, annual maintenance cost of each system.
Okay.
Thank you.
Are there any more questions? So all those of approving the superintendent's recommendation state aye.
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 Chair votes aye. Motion carried. That brings us to item 16, resolution encouraging best practices in safe firearm storage. The superintendent's recommendation is that the Board of Education approve the resolution encouraging the best practices in preventing minors from accessing firearms in the Waterloo Community School District.
So moved.
Second.
So I'll read a little bit, I'll read the details, and then we have a resolution. Whereas the safety and well-being of students, staff, and community members in the Waterloo Community School District are of paramount importance, reputable research highlights the significant risk associated with minors' access to firearms, contributing to increased risks of accidental injuries, suicides, and school shootings. And firearms are the leading cause of deaths for children under the age of 18 in the United States. The board is being asked to support a resolution encouraging best practices in preventing minors from accessing firearms in the Waterloo Community School District. Through this resolution, Waterloo schools will commit to providing information to students and parents about safe firearm storage, continue to advocate for mental health funding, and continue efforts in providing a safe environment for our staff and students. And we have Kristen, I believe.
Yes. Thank you for taking the time to hear from our group, Moms Demand Action Cedar Valley. My name is Kristen Stanford, and I live at 1708 Partridge Lane in Waterloo. I would like to thank you for bringing the resolution encouraging best practices for safe firearm storage. A little over a week ago, parents in the South Hardin School District received communication from their superintendent, making them aware of the death of one of their middle school classmates. Although many already knew, because news of such tragedy moves quickly in a small town of Eldora. A young life ended by a firearm. Another young life forever changed in a community that will never be the same. Thank you for acknowledging that firearms are the second leading cause of death among children and teens in Iowa. Thank you for making it a priority to provide parents and guardians with information about secure gun storage in their homes. Thank you for recognizing that the mental health of our children and teens in Iowa plays a part in 54% of these deaths being suicides, and resolving to advocate for additional state and federal funding to address the mental health needs of our students. As a Waterloo alum and a current parent, I am proud of this resolution and the dedication of all of you, our school board members and superintendent, to create a safer community for our students. Thank you.
Kristen, thank you, and your group. You guys did so much bringing this to us on a platter and explaining it. Thank you.
Yes, I'll go ahead, Dr. Smith.
I was just going to make sure the board knows we're planning on, we've had a couple emails back and forth. We're planning on disseminating information to parents. We're working on that. I think some information has been shared on how to do that. And then also getting in front of our principal group to make sure they're aware of this information. We haven't quite figured out what that plan looks like, but we said let's get this done here today. And then we've got a couple steps moving forward to make sure the information is shared. So I just want to make sure you knew those. There's a couple of steps beyond just this announcement, this proclamation here today.
And I'll echo what Director Mills said. We truly appreciate you taking the time and the effort, your whole group, to present to us and putting that in the forefront of our minds and also our community that we serve, because this is an important thing in a district of our size. So we appreciate your group for sharing this information, and we look forward to partnering with you in the future. So all those in favor of the superintendent's recommendation, state aye. Aye. Chair votes aye. Motion carried. And now I'll read the resolution. Whereas the safety and well-being of students, staff, and community members in the Waterloo Community School District are of paramount importance. Whereas reputable research highlights the significant risk associated with minors' access to firearms, contributing to increased risk of accidental injuries, suicides, and school shootings. Whereas firearms are the leading cause of death for children under the age of 18 in the United States. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Waterloo Community School District Board of Education commits to the following: safe storage information. Provide students and parents with information focusing on the risks associated with firearms and the importance of safe storage practices. Mental health funding. Advocate for additional state and federal funding for Iowa's youth mental health system. Safe environment. Continue the district's commitment to a safe, supportive, and collaborative learning environment for all students and staff. Be it further resolved that the Waterloo Community School District Board of Education should work diligently towards the implementation of these measures adopted this 22nd day of April 2024 by the Waterloo Community School District Board of Education. Thank you again. The next item on our agenda is the Leader in Me agreement. It is the superintendent's recommendation that the Board of Education approve the memorandum of understanding with Leader in Me at a cost of $65,100 per year as presented. Can we get a second?
Second.
Okay, I'll give a few details and then I'll let the group that is here to present talk. Leader in Me is an international initiative based on Steve Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Leader in Me is a school-wide process dedicated to transforming the leadership culture and performance at the schools. And we've had a few groups today talk about and give a shout out to Leader in Me. So we'll let the experts give us a little bit of information about the Leader in Me program.
Wonderful. Thank you. I don't know if we're going to have tech here or not, but we're going to get going. I know you have a big agenda. I'm Melissa Reed with Leader Valley, and I would like a few other folks to come up and say hi here quick, and then we'll launch in. Sorry.
I'm Shantavia Parker. I'm also a part of Leader Valley.
And I'm Carrie Heingerling, principal at Lowell and New Lighthouse School.
Yes. Hey, let's just celebrate that right now. Come on, let's kick it off right.
You might remember just about a month ago, Lowell was up and we were speaking with you all about working towards our lighthouse status, and the day after we presented, we actually found out that we got lighthouse status, and so pretty amazing. Our students and families were super excited, our staff was super excited, you know, and we couldn't do some of the things that we're doing without Leader in Me. Shantavia and Melissa have certainly been a pusher of us in working towards that. But it's not just about being Leader in Me, it's about what it does for our students and helping them find their leadership roles in themselves. You know, it's about helping our students find that their own genius and being able to use that in a way that helps them to become the student and the future adult, you know, that we want them to be. And we couldn't do that without some of the things that happen with Leader in Me, the goal setting that we do, the practicing the 7 habits, intertwining those with second step in our lead time. We use our Leader in Me status and our Leader in Me work to help make every student be the very best leader that they can be. And I just don't think that could happen without the help of Shantavia and Melissa being our coaches, coming into our buildings, working with our students, working with our staff. And I know it's not just Lowell. You, as Astor said, you heard lots of places, schools talk about Leader in Me because it really has such an impact on Waterloo, on our community, and in our schools. So we are super happy at Lowell to have Leader in Me be a part of who we are as a building, and I think continuing with Leader in Me is something very important to all of our students in Waterloo. So I'll let Melissa take it away from there.
Thank you. So it looks like we have no text. So I'd love to give visuals only because I think when I share a lot of information, it's good for people who are visually better learners. So as I mentioned, this is I'm Melissa Reed with Leader Valley. I'm the executive director. It's been several years since we've had the opportunity to be in front of the board, so thank you for that. And for those of you who aren't familiar, Leader Valley is a little baby nonprofit. We've been in existence since 2012, and our sole mission is to really bring leadership to life in the Cedar Valley and in our schools. And we're currently serving 13 of your schools. We started with one school back in 2010. And so we're just slowly growing and making the
the opportunity alive for leadership for all students. And we currently are serving 6,731 of your students, as well as 850 of your educators. So it feels like an awesome endeavor that we're on, and the impact that we've had is great, but we know that there's so much more that we can do. And over the years, we have really tried to align the Leader in Me work with the school priorities. And so if you could see this right now, I know you have PACE behind you, your priorities, but Leader in Me really does tie and fall into some aspect of all four of those priorities that you have. And so we're super proud of that we can integrate our work within the schools and your district's priorities. As you saw in the Memorandum of Understanding, we serve the district and the schools in a lot of different ways, and we're incredibly proud of that, whether it's from coaching and bringing on and onboarding new educators to principal leadership development, principal transitions. I mean, when we have transitions into our schools, we have to think about how do we create continuity so that we don't experience a dip with implementation. We provide executive coaching to our principals, as well as community coaching, meaning that we bring all of our educators, our principals, and our coordinators, for lack of better words, together so that we can grow and learn together, because we all believe that they are all our students. And so if one of us is doing something great, let's be abundant and share that with the others. So, and there's many other things, as you've seen in that Memorandum of Understanding, that I think are critical for our partnership. But probably the best part is hearing the stories. And so I'm going to turn it over to Shantavia here for just a few quick success stories to share.
Yeah, well, I have the privilege to serve most of our Waterloo schools that are a part of our Leader in Me program. You heard from one, Lowell, but other schools that we're looking to highlight today. Irving, I don't know if you know, but they're going for Lighthouse in the spring. So that would be 2 of our Waterloo schools that are deemed at risk that will become a Leader in Me Lighthouse school if Irving gets that milestone. So we're super excited for them. They're working really, really hard this year to plan all the things to become Lighthouse. Another school that I'll talk about, again, I wish I had time to talk about every single one because I will root them up just because I'm also a Waterloo Schools grad. So it's dear to my heart. It's not just my work. It's what I love and what I enjoy doing and feeding into our students and our staff. But Kingsley is, I call them our quiet gems. They're pretty humble in what they do, but they do great work also, as well as the rest of our schools. So they launched their wig catcher this year. And if you're not familiar with what is a wig catcher, it's wildly important goals. And a catcher is what they do to celebrate. And so if the school meets a goal, if a student meets a goal, if a staff member meets a goal, if a family meets a goal, they put balls into a wig catcher that kind of moves from room to room, but it's a form of celebrating. I should call them pom-poms. We're trying to find new words for the things that goes into the wig catchers. But so pom-pom, whatever you want to call it, is celebrated by that. They're also getting ready to start their leadership day. This week they had one in the fall, which they're doing breakfast with binders, where they invite family and community members in to come in and look at their leadership binder. So every student at Kingsley currently has a leadership portfolio. That's what we encourage most of our schools to get to, is really developing that leadership portfolio so that students have something hands-on that they can put all of their leadership things in. Our other school that I wanted to highlight was Hoover. So Hoover is one of our middle schools that we have Leader in Me at. They just had their leadership night last week that I got to go to, where over 70 students were able to show their leadership and shine their leadership. They had jazz band performances. They had all type of stuff going on. It was super awesome. They actually did a big project last year with me. I was able to spend one Wednesday a month in Hoover, actually, and we built a dream school. So what a dream school is we talked about, if we made Hoover a dream school, what would it sound like, feel like, look like? And now we need to make that dream a reality. So we built our dream school last year, and this year we're making it a reality. And what that is looking like is we develop action teams. So every dream that we created, now we have an action team connected to that dream. So they kind of took it and they've rolled with it this year. We've seen a lot of success. Obviously, their leadership team is pushing a lot of things, but super proud of Hoover. And then you heard from Expo. So Expo Student Lighthouse team is doing great works. The biggest goal for them the last couple years has been to change the narrative of what Expo has felt and been in the community, and they're doing a heck of a job. Anthony, from the first time I met Anthony to now, drastic difference. So very proud of that team. So it's just power in our Leader in Me program, and what we see happens with our students, and then what we see happens with our adults. So again, I could go on and on about our Waterloo schools, but I am very proud of how they roll out Leader in Me, and how they truly believe that every one of our students can be leaders, because we know some of them don't feel that way. But when we can give them this program, they begin to believe what we think they are and what they should know that they are. So thank you for this opportunity.
And one thing that I would add about Lighthouse, you've heard the term Lighthouse team and Lighthouse status or milestone. So Carrie talked about Lighthouse milestone or status, and this is a school that's been in the Leader in Me process for a while, and they have seen marked improvement and impact in leadership, culture, and academics. So our world with Leader in Me revolves around leadership, culture, and academics. And for a school to achieve that designation it's challenging. And in fact, only 10% of schools worldwide ever achieve that Lighthouse milestone. And right now in Waterloo, of your 13 schools, we already have 4. And so if my math is correct, we've already got like over 30% of our Leader in Me schools well above the worldwide average. And so again, that's something to be super celebratory of. They are doing the work because it's the right work for kids. And so I think that's an important thing. And then you heard Expo talk about their Lighthouse team. Every Leader in Me school has a leadership team. Most of them refer to them as Lighthouse teams. So we have an adult Lighthouse team and a student Lighthouse team. And those teams are really the driver of the school-wide efforts in leadership, culture, and academics. So I thought that might be a little help for you as you consider moving forward with Leader Valley in this memorandum. Are there any questions?
No, I mean, I'm excited to keep everything going. I've seen what happens in the schools. When I went to visit Expo the first time after I became a board member, the Lighthouse team is who took me around. So
Yes.
that was my introduction to how amazing that is. And yeah, it was like being walked by like adults trained in this, you know, so.
Yeah, I think, you know, we always wonder, why do we wait till adulthood to figure out how to be effective? So we are taking a very proactive stance. This is very proactive work. And sometimes it's hard to see the long-term payout, but we believe it's there, and we're seeing it firsthand with your students.
Just a comment from, thank you for your commitment to our district and our students. As I mentioned earlier, you can see the difference. Just Anthony as an example, you can tell that the shyness was once there, but just the articulation, the growth, the leader.
Yeah.
And we see that throughout our buildings,
Yes.
that are Leader in Me schools and the students. So we appreciate your commitment to our district.
Thank you. Yeah, we are so pleased to serve the district. We love our partnership. We love our Waterloo schools.
And I see Miss Shantavia doing stuff outside of just Leader in Me. Like, this is a full-on commitment.
Yes. Yeah, undoubtedly.
She was raised well.
Yes, she was.
So my favorite people come from that family, so.
Yeah.
So all those in favor, if no more questions, all those in favor of the superintendent's recommendation, state aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion carried. Thank you
So
again.
much. We appreciate your time, and your commitment.
Melissa, if you want to send me that PowerPoint, I can forward that information on to the board. Thank you.
You're always on top of it. So moving right along in our agenda, almost skipped one again. Next item on our agenda is the bid approval for the East High Pool Infill Project. The superintendent's recommendation is that the Board of Education accept the recommendation from ISG and approve the base bid from Larson Construction for the East High Pool infill project as outlined for a total cost of $539,000, excluding alternate number one. And we have Zach Kelly here that can give us a little bit more information on this.
Yep.
Oh, excuse me, before you do that, I'm still learning. Can I get a motion to put that on the table?
So moved.
Second.
And now, Zach.
All right. So this is the project that we had talked about doing at both east and west. That would be the pool infill that would happen this summer. We got bids back from both. Both were competitive bids. For East High, for example, Baylor, Hurley, Larson, and Peters Construction were the three bidders. Larson Construction was the lowest at $539,000. The alternate was $50,000, and that was to air condition the space. We felt that they didn't need it at the time to do air conditioning. We can do it later on down the road if we want, but just to try to stay within our current budget, that's why we chose not to do the alternate.
Do we have any questions for Zach?
So when would it be started and completed?
June 3rd will be the start date, and then the completion date is the last week in October, is that correct?
Last week of what?
In October, sorry, last week in October. So we'll still have it, wrestling starts in November, so we'll still be good for practice.
So what disruption or interference, that area is kind of hard to get to at east?
It is, a lot of the noise and the concrete breaking will be during the summertime. So a lot of that work will already be done as far as the noise goes before school starts. And then they'll enter and exit through door number 6, I think is off the top of my head, to the north there. They'll have access.
How much, I know the high school still have activities going on in the summer.
Yep.
How much interaction or how much will they still be able to participate in activities in the school with the construction going on throughout the summer?
Yep, good question. That area we're able to contain that and keep that separate, so we don't have to worry about kids entering or leaving the construction site. That'll all be maintained very well. A lot of the activities are towards the gym side, which is still separated from the pool.
Any more questions? All those in favor of the superintendent's recommendation, state aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Or any opposed? Chair votes aye. Motion carried. Stay right there, Zach. Next item on our agenda is the bid approval for West High Pool infill project. The superintendent's recommendation is that the Board of Education accept the recommendation from Envision and approve the base bid from Larson Construction for the West High Pool infill project as outlined for a total cost of $489,000, excluding alternate number one.
So moved.
Can we get a second?
Second.
And Zach?
So this project, we had a couple more bidders involved in this one. My thoughts are is that access to the project was probably a little easier than East High, just because East High being in the courtyard area and West High would be on the exterior, so the project would be a little easier, and that probably explains a little bit of the cost difference too. But Baylor Hurley was bidder, Cook Construction, Larson, Don Gardner, and Peters, with Larson being the lowest bidder at $489,000, and still the same timeline as far as his start and completion date.
Are there any questions for Zach?
So does this include then everything that gets put in, right? Like the mats and all that, right?
Yep, it includes everything but the floor mats. So the wall mats were included with the project. We did the floor mats at owner supplied, which costs, I'm coming up around 14,000 for east and 14,000 for west. But I think we'll be able to utilize what we already have for wrestling mats currently.
Any more questions? So all those in favor of the superintendent's recommendation state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes aye. Motion carried. Thanks, Zach.
He's at the next one too.
Yeah. Get comfortable. The next item on our agenda is the bid approval for Central Middle School Water Main Upgrade Project. The superintendent's recommendation is that the Board of Education accept the recommendation from Modis Engineering and approve the bid from Denver Underground and Grading Incorporated for the Central Middle School Water Main Upgrade Project as outlined for a total cost of $151,000.
So moved.
Second.
And we have Zach as well. You want to give us a little details about this?
So this project would start this summer as well. Original plans changed a little bit with the potential of the one high school if, July comes to board wants to go that route. So we took back a little of the scope of work originally. I budgeted in our PEPAL for $360,000, but that changed just because of the potential of site interferences if we ended up building where the new water main locations were going to be. So this would be refeeding Central Middle School and WCC. At this time, this doesn't include to refeed WCCX and the stadium until we can get a more definitive on what route we'll go come July. So this would be replacing from the meter to inside of the building of Central. It would be, Jake can correct me on details, but PVC would be from the meter to the building.
So there'll be a new connection to the waterworks main that's in right by Katoski. We'll run ductile iron underneath the road to a meter vault, which is a requirement from waterworks. And then from the meter vault to the building will be PVC that will get trenched in. It'll go under the parking lot, and the parking lot will get tore up and reconfigured.
And we had 4 bidders for this project, but JQ Construction, Brecky, Denver Underground, and Plum Tech. But the biggest thing that we needed to have this happen before the potential project is just because that water main's been patched probably multiple times within the 10 years. We're kind of limping on borrowed time with it, so there's quite a few patches, and we felt this was the best route to go.
So what part of the parking lot will be tore up?
The section from east to west, or we actually have to cross to get to the building.
The whole strip, basically.
Yep. Otherwise, we would be going,
In line with the front door, or are we in line with what?
nope, it would be more towards the north, kind of the pool entrance. Direct shot from east to west from Katowski.
About a third of the way down.
Yep, yep.
Were the specs clear? Why is there such a big difference in the bids?
So we did call Denver Underground just to double check that they were confident with their bid and that they didn't forget anything, or just seeing that there was such a large difference in numbers. And I think they have an open schedule for the summer, whereas the others may not have. We were a little bit later getting the bids in for this one, considering we'd be potentially starting here in a month. So I think that played into it, and this is kind of their bread and butter work, whereas the others, Brecky, for example, is probably more suited for indoor work, but they do outdoor work, so.
So it's the same spec pipe?
Yep, we did question that too, just because of the big difference in bidding.
Okay.
Are there any more questions for Zach and Jake? So all those in favor of approving the superintendent's recommendation, state aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion carried. Thank you, guys.
I got one more.
Oh,
We've
jeez.
got a couple more.
One more for
Footprints
Zach.
are gonna be in the concrete
Yeah,
floor
two
here.
more, yeah.
The camera ones.
Oh, yeah, too. So item 21, consideration of quotes for the Central Middle School steamer kettle replacement project. The superintendent's recommendation is that the Board of Education accept the recommendation from the Facilities Committee and approve the purchase of 2 combi electric ovens and 1 growing electric kettle from Wilson Restaurant Supply Incorporated at a total cost of $80,851.63 as presented.
So moved.
Second.
And we have Zach here again. So give us a few details about this.
Yep, so this is for the Central Middle School kitchen. Currently, they've got a combo that does a steamer and a kettle. So the problem we've had when it breaks down is you have all or nothing. So if a component fails, you don't have the kettle and you don't have the steamer. So that's kind of the fault of it, with it being a combination like that. We've had to put quite a bit of money into it, but the big thing is the pan underneath has a pinhole in it, so it's kind of forced us to go this route. The unit is 2009, so I've done some research, and depending on the water quality and how much it gets used, it's anywhere from 10 to 20 years of lifespan. So I ended up getting 2 quotes, one from Wilson and one from Martin Brothers. Also had food service involved in this too, just because we want to make sure it works for their needs. But Wilson's ended up being the lowest, which would be 2 combi ovens and then the 1 kettle. Cedar Falls schools have transitioned over to these combis, so we actually went on site and visited and talked with the staff and see how they liked it. Heather Bathen was there as well with food service. Had good feedback. So both of the kettle and the ovens come with a 2-year warranty. The work would take place this summer as well. 4 to 6 week lead time, so we still have plenty of time to get it before summer. Wilson's ended up being the lowest at $80,851.63.
So these are steam heated?
Correct. Yep, steam heated.
So my understanding is they can be moved seamlessly if we relocate the kitchen, correct?
Very good. Yep, absolutely. So that is one thing that we also checked with, if this would impact the use of the equipment further down the road, depending on what decisions we made with the one high school. But it would be, this would be in conjunction to where it would be used for the high school as well. We would just need to add a couple more to accommodate that.
So to preserve the life, is there a standard water treatment such that it doesn't scale up?
Yep, so there's an RO unit that was included with this Wilson's offer and Martin Brothers to help with the quality,
Okay,
water
great.
quality.
Thank you.
Yep.
We have any more questions for Zach? So all those in favor of approving the superintendent's recommendation, state aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye.
Hey,
Motion.
we got a new kettle.
Any opposed?
I'm just chairing the new kettle.
Any opposed? Chair votes aye. Motion carried. Thanks, Zach. Oh, we got one more? One more. Oh, jeez. Let me find it here. The next item on our agenda is the East High and West High security camera upgrade. It's the superintendent's recommendation that the Board of Education accept the recommendation from the Facilities Committee and approve the quotes from Hawkeye Alarm and Signal Company to install security cameras at East High and West High for a total cost of $278,200 to be paid out of the Stronger Connections grant.
So moved.
Second?
And Zach, can you give us some details on this as well?
So this, back in fall of last year, I went to the board for the approval of the Stronger Connections grant that was given to the district. So the Stronger Connections grant was kind of in conjunction with student services. They could use it for counseling, mental health. At that time, they didn't have a need for it, so it went over to Dan Huff had brought it to my attention. So I did the grant, and it covers installation and equipment upgrades of security cameras. So this is not this is not a part of the safety grant that we just did here about a month ago or so. This is completely separate. So that's kind of why we picked East High and West High to do the security camera upgrades, just because of the high cost. We felt that the Stronger Connections grant, that money towards that would be best used, and then East and West, the safety grant money would be used towards exterior hold-open switches, glass hardening. So this is just strictly the Stronger Connections grant. But this would update all exterior and interior cameras to IP, so Cat 6 would be pulled from their nearest network switch to each camera. Matt O'Brien's also been involved in this just to make sure technology purposes are being met with this. So this would, there would be multiple cameras that would serve this area. So I had campus safety look over our floor plan that we had, stating where all the new cameras were going to be, just so we could make sure that no dead spots were being missed. So with all this planning, we ended up going out for RFP with Hawkeye Alarm and Tri-City, and also Primary Systems was sent out, the same thing. I just did not receive back pricing on that. It was only from Hawkeye Alarm and Tri-City. Hawkeye Alarm ended up being the lowest at the $278,000. Currently, we have $309,000 of a balance with our Stronger Connections grant, which will leave us just shy of $30,000 left, which would pay for some extra servers that we'll have to get for the added cameras to the district. So this will be this won't come out of PEPAL or any of our budget. It will be strictly this grant. And this work would happen this summer and be completed before school starts.
What kind of warranty we have on the cameras?
Cameras are a 1-year warranty. Hanwha is the brand, which we started using this brand probably 2 to 3 years ago. We've had pretty good success with them. They're not overly priced. They're comparable as far as quality to Sony's and Axis and Aircon Vision. But it is a 2-year warranty.
2 years.
2 years.
Are there any more questions for Zach?
Good job on getting a grant, using a grant, make sure to use that, and great job on helping improve our school safety, so.
Thank you.
Yeah, great job. So all those in favor of approving the superintendent's recommendation, state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes aye. Motion carried. Thanks, Zach.
Thank you.
The next item on our agenda is the Iowa Local Government Risk Pool. Superintendent's recommendation is that the Board of Education approve the quote of $599,160.63 and participation in the Iowa Local Government Risk Pool for the 2024-25 school year. And we have, can we get a motion? Put that on the table? Can we get a second to put it on the table?
Second.
And we have Jeff and Dr. Smith can give us a little bit more information on this.
Yeah, so the Local Government Risk Pool, or LGRP, allows us the opportunity to participate with other school districts in how we purchase our natural gas utility. It's a relatively new program. The 23-24 school year marks the 5th year that the program's existed for school districts. However, in that very short period of time, over 50% of the school districts in the state of Iowa have joined this pool and are participating in it. The program works simply by having the program create a premium for our utility for natural gas. And once we pay that each year in July, it covers all of our utility costs for natural gas for that year. For the upcoming year, they quoted us a price of the $599,160.63. The program is not designed to save us money. And in fact, it can actually, over time, cost us more than we'd pay if we purchased utilities directly from Mid-America Energy. However, there are two different benefits that our district can enjoy by participating in the program. The first one is each year we know the cost of our utility. Over the course of the last 5 years, the natural gas cost that we've paid directly to Mid-America Energy has ranged anywhere from $272,000 a year to $737,000 a year. That much fluctuation causes a great deal of difficulty in us budgeting and planning for what we're going to need to be able to pay that utility. And the way the program works is that the price that's been quoted to us includes a 20% profit cap by the program. So if we do have our utilities lower than the $599,000 that we're paying for a premium, there's an opportunity for the district to get reimbursed portion back based on what our actual costs are. The second benefit, and what I think is even more important, is the fact that this premium can be paid from our management fund. As you know, Waterloo school districts and all public school districts use fund accounting. So each fund has its own specific funding purposes and what it can be used for. Traditionally, our utilities are paid out of our general fund, which is often called our operating fund. It also pays for things like staff salaries and benefits. Of course, the utilities, our transportation, even classroom supplies. So by moving this expense out of the general fund to the management fund, it allows us to basically save that funding in our general fund to be used for other purposes within the general fund, which, as I discussed with our district leadership team, Dr. Smith, and our finance committee, I think is a very important thing as we're strategically planning for some leaner years coming ahead. Other questions?
Yeah. Does the system fall apart if you can't transfer money from the general fund to the management fund?
It doesn't require transferring. The management fund just pays for it.
Well,
Yeah.
in effect, it's,
Yeah, the management fund will
Yeah.
pay for the cost of the premium.
does the system fall apart?
I'm not sure I understand the question because the
Well, the
management fund.
motivation here is to protect the authorized budget.
Right, it would protect the authorized budget in the general fund by not having the premium, by not
Yeah.
having the utility paid out of the general fund.
So is that so important that we're willing to spend a lot of money, taxpayer money, to levy into the management fund more than we would have in the general fund.
We will be levying probably additional money in the management fund, but the difference on an annual basis might not be that significant.
Okay. All right, that's what I want to address. I think the difference is much more than advertised, so that's why I'd like to share the actual numbers. I've got a handout here.
Everybody got it?
No, those, they got theirs down there. Over here,
This side.
just this side. Well, except for Anthony. Okay. So the first page here is the bid in the red. I reorganized it from highest use to lower use. Other than that, these numbers in red are what's in the agenda in terms of the proposed cost, and it's $599,000. The projected Mid-America cost for this year is $295,000. So it isn't just a little bit of difference, there's a lot of difference. Now, that's this year. If you weather adjusted this year, because it was warmer than normal, we didn't use as much heating, it would be $357,000 with the adjusted. Still a big number difference. It's mostly on the cost side. If you look in the decatherms, we used in 22-23 $67,000, in 23-24 $52,000, but if you adjust that again for the weather, you get $64,000. What the risk group is using is $68,200, so we don't have any dispute there. It's basically the same amount. So the use over time is actually pretty consistent from year to year, but we do have some savings goals. Now, go to the second sheet, if I can find mine. All right. So, the refunds. The rebate, the first thing they do on the rebates is take 20% of the gross amount. 20% of 600,000.
Oh, not 20% of the difference?
No, it's 20% of 600,000.
My understanding is it's 20% of the cost of the utility.
Yeah, but, okay, let's go to the next sheet then. This is the data from the 2 years that they actually issued a refund. They issued it 2 out of the 4 years. If you look at their margin down on the bottom, well, look at the total premiums. Let's do the first year, 2020. $1,257,000. Take 20% of that, that's their margin on the bottom line. 250 is 20% of 1,257 million. Okay. Go over on the right-hand side. In this case, we use the 2021 data. Well, I should have started there. All right, the 491 on the bottom is 20% of the 2465. So that falls to the bottom. That's their margin right away. So if we pay 600,000, 120,000 falls to that bottom line. That's their profit. Okay? And then, if you look at the difference up there between their premiums and their cost of goods sold, the cost of goods sold is what they pay for gas and delivery. That difference, as you can see there in my handwriting, is $981,970. So that's the difference between the premiums they get and their cost of service. So if you take out the $491,000 on the bottom, comes off first, the 20%, then you take off the $16,000 more that they elected to put in reserves, and we don't have any control over that, as far as I know. You end up with $473, which is the refund. So yes, they take 20% right off the top. What they did. So, I guess the question becomes, does it matter how much it costs? Are we so committed to this that no matter what it costs, we want to do it? Or is there a point at which we say, you know, the extra cost is probably not something we should pass on to the taxpayers?
Well, for me, not being an expert in this, and I know that you've done a lot of work on this, Lyle, and you are more of an expert in finances than most of us, but I have to give a lot of leeway to the financial experts that we have as to why they want to do this. Is surety, is there a silent cost here to not knowing what the costs are going to be in the accountancy here, and what our accountants are going to have to do in planning, in chasing around and figuring things out and redoing budgets? Is that going to be a silent cost that we can't really track that is also costing our taxpayers?
How much, what's the size of our general fund?
Well, for the next year, right around $170 million.
300,000 and 170 million.
I don't know what that means.
Should be manageable. It's such a small piece of the total budget, this fluctuation. And yes, we had some fluctuation the last 2 years just because of the storm in Texas, but that's a once in a lifetime.
Well, I guess I'd like to hear Jeff speak
right.
some more about why you want to do it this way. What is, I mean, there must be some benefit to this, and if you could educate us a little bit more about why it's worth $300,000, why it's worth, this printed cost that we can all see right here. Can you speak to that?
Sure, I can try to answer your question. The calculation, and Lyle and I hadn't seen this until tonight, so I wasn't aware of this calculation, but from talking with the group, yes, 2 out of the 4 years there has been a rebate back. So they intentionally set the premium a little higher because they know that they don't want to, once they guarantee that to us, if there is an anomaly like freeze in Texas again, and in the rates like $700,000, they need to have enough of a reserve. And the extra premium that we're paying builds that reserve up so that in the year that, if we never have another year where we have a $700,000 utility bill, we're not paying extra, but the program has enough in reserve to pay that extra cost. The benefit that, as we're looking strategically, and our district leadership team's been looking at a lot of options, is we're trying to get a little bit leaner right now, looking at our budgets going forward. And this was a unique opportunity that was presented to me. I brought it to Dr. Smith. We discussed it. We just thought it was a unique and painless way to take and save money in our operating budget. I mean, we could be looking at doing things that otherwise might be not as painless to try to save a few $100,000 in our general operating fund. And again, I agree with Lyle. It is going to probably be a little bit more expensive program in the management fund to pay for it, but it does free up. And the state auditor's office has approved the program, and it's managed by 3 different active superintendents in the state of Iowa who are serving on the board to ensure that the program's working well for school districts. And like I said, in a very short period of time, over 50% of the school districts are now participating in it.
So I have a couple of follow-up questions for you. So one of the benefits here is not only that we would know upfront what we would be planning for, but it's coming out of a different bucket, and it's saving dollars in another bucket that, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm just making a guess here, I don't know the answer to this, but would it preserve dollars that we can use for staff and teachers?
Yes.
Okay, and I think I understand now. Thank you.
Okay, let me just, I think that while the auditors have allowed it, I believe the Department of Education is saying, don't do it. Don't take that money out of the management fund.
What other groups, what other school districts are participating in this? Do you know?
I don't have a list, but I know that, I think it's
There's
in our document.
155.
155 school districts are participating in it for this current year, and from talking to the program director, they expect it to grow to over 170.
Are they large or small, or large, medium districts? Any idea?
Yes. I don't have a complete list, but I know, like, I believe Davenport School District is participating in it. That was one example they gave us.
Okay. Let's move on down a little bit if we can. If you look at the Muscatine example, it illustrates it doesn't really protect us against the fluctuations
Where's that at?
as claimed. Huh?
I was just seeing
It's on
where
this
you're
same page, 2B.
at. Okay.
So if you look in 21, 22, their premium was 181,000. Anticipated use was 21. They ended up using a little more, 25. That year, the LGRP group had a 7.4% profit, so they didn't get the 20%. They got a 7.4%. So guess what? The next year, they hooped their costs from 181 to 299.
Is this,
Huge increase. And there was no refund that year. So if you look at the cost per decatherm, you went from 708 to 1236. They were in the program. So it doesn't even do that.
what is our commitment for time? Is it yearly, is it a?
It's an annual,
contract?
it's an annual commitment, and the program requires that every year the Board of Education approve it in the spring to participate for the next school year.
And Jeff, after having reviewed the numbers that Lyle has here tonight, are you still, is the school district still wanting this motion on the table?
I believe it is, based on the conversations that our district leadership team has had.
I'm really, really sensitive to preserving money for teacher jobs. And I'm interested in being creative to do that, and I understand that we might be spending more in it out of a different bucket this way, but to me, teaching is the driver of education, and preserving teacher jobs and making Waterloo an attractive place to teach is really, really important to me. So Lyle and I may not agree, and we both have our own votes on different things, but thanks for answering my questions.
You're welcome.
The next item that's advertised is that they, as a consortium, can negotiate lower prices on both the commodity and the delivery. There's natural gases consists basically of two prices, delivery and then the commodity of the gas itself. So if you look at the data for the various years, they're really not a better negotiator than Mid-America. So, especially in the last couple of years, our prices is not only the premium, the 120,000, the 20% of the 120,000, it's the increase that whole pool has, then we would have a cheaper cost with Mid-America. Now, part of their system, I think, is on Alliant, and Alliant gas prices are higher than Mid-America. So we've got a pretty good negotiator now. If you look at the prices, you just compare them year to year. There was an aberration in 21, 22, and 22, 23. That $10 one switched. I don't have an explanation for that. But as you can see, the Waterloo cost up is 162,000, 92,000. Then the savings, again, 220,000. So then you say, okay, what's the proposal represent? And item 4 down there, their proposal represents $8.79 per decatherm. In red to the right, on 68,000 decatherms, that's their 599,000. It looks now that Mid-America is going to cost $710.
Lau, I got a question before you get to that. So are you saying that, you're not saying that this would be just out the door in your opinion? You talked about negotiating. So if you want to see the price negotiated to be a cheaper price, would the program not be as bad if the difference?
Their claim is, okay, we're going to pay 20% more, but that would be offset by their ability to procure at a lower price than our current price. That was one of their claims, but that's not borne out by any of the information.
But with the possibility of the rebate?
The first 2 years there's a rebate, there hasn't been since, and based on the pricing for this year, there won't be a rebate either, the way it appears. Yeah.
Because in the figure, from 21, just the muscatine example, from 21 to 22, and you were talking about the jump in price, kind of insinuating that if we do enroll in this, the possibility of them hiking it up that next year.
Well, they can do whatever they want.
Right, but we can also not vote to continue if it's on a yearly basis. And I think that was, even in your first example, it was the second year that the price kind of jumped up a little bit and the risk was more.
But the bottom line is, you sign up for the 600,000, the 20%, the 120 is gone. Minute you sign that paper, that's gone. And it's going to come over to the management fund, and we're going to raise taxes in order to fill that. There's no other way to look at it. That's the way it works.
Jeff, do you think that's true? Do you think that this, joining this risk pool is going to cause us to raise taxes?
Minimally, yes. We have an offset. We have a cash reserve levy in the general fund that we could also raise property taxes if we so choose as a board and as a district. What we're doing instead is raising taxes in the management fund to cover it. So we lowered the amount of the cash reserve levy that we have in the general fund accordingly. But again, I will agree with Lyle. The program is probably going to cost more money out the door overall than the traditional method. There might be years when it doesn't, but I think over a period of time it will.
So if we did anything, we ought to take this 120 plus, if Mid-America comes in less than the 710, that's also money in our pockets for this next year. And that could be another, well, it looks like it's going to be another 115,000. So it isn't just 120,000, their profit out the door. It's also, their costs would be higher than Mid-America. So that looks to be like another 150. So we ought to take that, whatever, excess of whatever number you do, earmark it and save it for next year, in case the price goes up. And then earmark it the next year, in case the price goes up. But to put that in our piggy bank, don't spend it.
Rainy day fund for terrible costs.
Yeah.
Two
What
questions.
fund do we, but does that have to be saved in the general fund? Is that right? Because the only way for any of this to come out of the management fund is for us to do the pool.
To
Is
do
that
the-
right?
Yeah,
Or no?
if we participate in the pool, then it has to be paid out of the management fund. And one of the differences between the management fund and the general fund, not only do you have to have the dollars in place, you have to have authority.
Right.
Okay, so one of the things we're saving in the general fund is, yes, we're reducing costs, but we're also saving authority. There's not the same requirement in the management fund, so by moving the expense to the management fund, we can pay for it out of there and don't have that same restriction. And the other question is, we know today, if we pass this tonight, I'm going to contact them tomorrow, and they're going to lock in our price for next year. Mid-America Energy, when we're buying utilities from them, they buy the utility for whatever the cost is at that day to meet the need. They make their money off of the transportation. So I don't know how we would guarantee what the price is going to be in the middle of next winter when we're paying for a utility.
Well, if you look at the futures price, people that really put money on both sides, they've found a single number, and that's what I've included in this. Matter of fact, I included the highest price of the year, next year, which is January, as usual. I applied it over the whole year. So if anything, our costs are going to be lower than this. Let me just hit one more item, and that is...
Make it quick.
And that is the internal efficiency. Looking at this and getting with Zach, there's quite a bit of opportunity, particularly the bus garage, for some reason, has the highest cost per square foot of any of our buildings to warm the buses. So that's front and center. It's not on the central system. It doesn't get monitored. So there's that one. There's Castle Hill in the same situation, and East High is extraordinarily high. So those are all savings. If we take action and improve those, as you can see, it's going to be from that last number there, from 30 to 60,000 more. If we're in the pool, we don't save anything because we've paid our 600,000. The pool might gain, but all our savings is spread across.
But if our price goes down, if we don't have as much, then we are going to get reimbursed the difference minus the 20%.
How does that,
Not, it's based on the pool.
It's based on a combination of the pool and our school
Yeah.
district, yes.
So wait, it's not every district themselves, it's the,
No.
it's the difference the whole pool gets?
They look at the cost for the whole pool, and then they also look at the cost for our school district. And most years, it's pretty similar, but there might be a place where that part of the state is colder and we're not as whatever, but it's primarily based on.
Is this, hold on, is this, can this go both ways? Is there, as we have the opportunity to enroll in this program this year, say we don't go forward with it this year,
Yes.
will there be an opportunity to revisit this
Every year,
next year?
every year you can revisit this as an opportunity, yeah. And you could participate for 1 year and drop out and back and forth as you choose, but it's an annual election.
Do you have the amount that, minus this program, what we're budgeted for next year?
For next year, I'm planning on budgeting about $500,000, just to be conservative.
Just to be conservative, so that means you're budgeting over.
Yeah. This year, I've got it right here. For the 2019-20 school year, our utilities were natural gas utilities was $272,000. The next year, $334,000. The year after that, $737,000. The year after that, $497,000. And this year, we're not finished, but it'll probably barely break $300,000 this year, if even that.
Because of weather.
Yeah.
So,
The high number, by the way, included Elk Run, which was high, and it included about 20,000 extra we saw those years with the contractors constructing partially enclosed buildings out at the
Yeah.
WCC, so.
Yeah, I don't think
so-
Elk Run would be 200,000,
So,
just an estimate.
but the projected is about 450,000.
So we appreciate your insight and your detail, Lyle, and I appreciate you as well, Jeff. I did have an opportunity to speak with you earlier. We got a lot of,
Yeah.
oh, go ahead.
I'm just gonna share, just real quick. Kind of respect both of you guys a lot here. Kind of what you've seen here has been ongoing dialogue for the last 2 months about back and forth. You know, at this point, Lyle brings up some great numbers. It's hard to argue. I mean, he's always got great points, right? I've also heard Jeff's perspective on kind of the counterpoints and his numbers. There's been email thread that are almanacs worth of information at this point between Lyle, Jeff, and then the rep from the group. Just from my perspective, you know, I'll be honest, I don't know which numbers exactly to trust here. But I do know this, is that we are looking at getting lean next year. And this is one of the line items we have, that the district leadership team has said, this is money that's gonna be freed up from the general fund to pay staff. You mentioned the 500,000, it's a $500,000. If we were to vote to take this out of that line item in terms of our budget getting lean for next year, I'm not sure where that 500K is gonna come from. And again, I don't understand, there's maybe some things that I'm a little confused on, but the biggest thing for me, Janelle referenced it, is by this money coming out of the management fund, it's really gonna free up some things on the general fund side for us not to have to make some more difficult decisions. 500K is, I mean, our next step is probably looking at some staff members through attrition, but I would much rather, if it's more expensive by 100K, you know, I've heard different numbers, I don't know what that would be. I still would recommend that we move forward with this, give it a shot, see how it turns out, come back to it next year. Just super uneasy, and again, it's not just Jeff and I want to be clear, this is our whole leadership team saying this is the route we want to go. So again, I respect Lyle, he's saved us so many times, but I'm advocating that you go ahead and move forward with this proposal. Again, it's our full leadership team saying we need this and we don't have any other really options at this point if you take that 500K away from our line item on the budget.
I've been on the board a long time. This is the most egregious assault on the taxpayer in all the time I've been on the board. This is money out the door for no benefit. No, I mean, the minor benefit, that's why I asked the first question. How much are you willing to pay to take $500,000 out of the general fund? 500, 600, 700, a million? There's a lot of different things ways you can play this. If you're gonna pay this penalty to move from this fund to this fund, I got the doors wide open, and the taxpayer's not protected at all.
One other thing is, if this was just a couple districts doing this, if this was just us, I would definitely have some reservations. There's more than half the school districts in the state doing this. So, while I respect Lyle's opinions and his numbers, there's a lot of very smart people who are doing this.
So the cost this year, if you've put aside $500,000, it'd be 99,000 then, is basically what we're saying is worth to us to move it. And, right, because they want the 599. I understand what Lyle's saying, and the idea of wasting any money makes me sick too. but I also know that $500,000 is 10 new teacher salaries. So it's, you know what I mean?
Is that
No,
not?
wait a minute.
Hold on, Lyle, hold
You
on, hold on. Just relax. Is that the 100,000 before the possible rebate? Whether we get it or not, is the potential to get that rebate calculated in that amount?
So the rebate, and Lyle and I have a different understanding of how it's calculated. He's basing it off the total premium. I was told again today by the director that it's based on the actual cost, so, but even with Lyle's example, which
These are their sheets.
what I'm seeing tonight, the most it would cost us would be like $120,000 a year, but it most likely would be less than that.
It's 120 plus Mid-America being able to provide service at less than they can. Plus any savings we get from our own energy efficiency.
Again, our own energy
Well,
efficient.
but Mid-America, we don't know, like, it's always a gamble, right? Like,
And,
What they're gonna
and,
get,
and you talk about a teacher, you can levy the Federal Reserve for 500 and put it in the general fund,
yeah.
so you don't need to lay off those.
Is there any way, just say hypothetically we went with this, is there any way of still tracking this, Lyle? Just be able to see it would be an actual savings or not after 1 year?
I don't know if Mid-America will give us the numbers that they would have
I
charged.
thought in one of her emails, she said that we'd still have access to all the Mid-America energy numbers, plus they would also provide us reports.
But even so, I'm just opposed to the initial
What,
money out the door.
my other thing is, are we looking at from taxes, from a tax standpoint, of more? Looking at any of your, hopefully I'm asking this right.
With this.
With
So,
this.
so this, in my opinion, this was a trade-off of raising $500,000 in additional taxes in the general fund or $600,000 worth of extra taxes in the management fund, waiting a year to assess what the program was and then adjust accordingly going forward.
I think it's time to call for a vote.
Ready?
Okay.
Second.
Ready. So all those in favor of approving the superintendent's recommendation state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm abstaining.
Chair votes aye. Motion carried. The next item on our agenda. One more. Is the 2024-2025 budget and property tax certification. The superintendent's recommendation is that the Board of Education certify and adopt the 2024-2025 budget with maximum expenditures of $248,000 $248,560,356 and the property tax levy rate of 13.97947 as presented. And we have Jeff Summerfeld that can give us a little bit, and Dr. Smith that can give us a little bit more information on this. Can we get a motion to put this on the table?
So moved.
Second.
And
Sure. I feel like the board's been hearing about this for the last 2 months, so we've had 2 public hearings, talked about it quite a bit in our finance committee meetings, and talked about it previously back in March. This is the same tax rate that we've proposed from the beginning, same total tax collections, and so I'll be glad to answer any additional questions, but I think we've visited it quite a bit.
does anybody have any questions on this?
I'm going to oppose it just on the principle as we just disrespected the taxpayer on the last one. So out of protest, I will vote against this one as well. We really cared about the taxpayer, we wouldn't have wasted their money.
Noted.
Do we have the breakdown of what the rate has been over the past few years?
Yeah, I can give you the history if you'd like me to read. I
Yes,
brought
please.
like the last 10 years. So
Yeah.
I'll start with the 2014-2015 school year, and you'll see that for the last 10 years, our property tax rate has decreased every year, or at least stayed flat until this year. And again, just to revisit that, the reason why it's going up this year, with the loss of our ESSER funding, which we were using to help offset the operating costs, we were able to lower taxes the last few years, but now we're coming back up to like the pre-COVID time and the rates that were in place at that time. So in the 14-15 school year, and I won't read out to 5 decimal points, but 14-15 school year, it was $15.97. The next year, $15.62. The next year, $15.40. Then $14.98, $14.57, $14.20, $14.20 again, $13.84, $13.36, and then $13.36 again for the current year that we're in. So the rate is increasing to $13.98, which is still below where we were at in 2021 pre-COVID. And the overall increase, 62 cents per 100,000, depending on the rollback and the change in the valuations and all that, but approximately a $200,000 house, the additional property taxes that are being paid on a $200,000 house is about $62 a year. Did that answer?
Did you get your answer?
Yes, thank you.
Do we have any more questions?
No, I just wanted, because I know we had people who came in and talked about it and had questions, that this is, that the raise is not, I mean, any raise isn't fun, but that it really isn't even going back to above, to where pre-COVID numbers really were.
I also looked and compared the 10-year history for Waterloo compared to several other school districts, and our overall rate up through this last year is down over 16%, while I only found one other large school district, Des Moines, that had reduced tax rate more than that during that time period. Some had actually gone up over that 10-year period while we were going down. So I think we've been very frugal with our budget, but we're just at a situation where we need to raise some additional funds.
So seeing no other questions, thank you, Jeff. All those in favor of the superintendent's recommendation state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Opposed.
Chair votes aye. Motion carried. That ends our agenda items this evening. Now we'll go to the superintendent's report.
Okay, I don't think we've met since our Gold Star teachers were announced. Is that correct? So we had so each year, McElroy Trust honors 5 area teachers for the Gold Star Award, and of the 10, 5 are Waterloo Schools teachers. So I'll just read those real quick. Tracy Hume, I don't know if I pronounced that right or not. We were there to see that one, right?
That was
Awesome, Waterloo Career Center. Tim Hopper over at Central Middle School. Jennifer Schlater from Lowell Pre-K. Chris Timms at East High. And Tiffany Evans at Irving. So really well represented. Had a chance to see both Tracy's and Tiffany's announcements, and they were both just, it's just a super cool thing. At Tiffany's, we probably had about 30 to 40 relatives or family members in the library there when we announced that. So it was really cool. So one other thing, tomorrow night we're going to be back here in this room. I don't know if you're excited for that or if you're like, ooh, another thing. But no, we'll be back in this room for another town hall event, learning more about academic achievement and how that will, and how a possible new high school will impact academic achievement. Super excited for what our teaching and learning team has put together. That is tomorrow, I believe, at 5 p.m. until 6:30.
Thank you, Dr. Smith. We'll start with Director Mills.
I just wanted to say how happy I am that we were able to move forward with the Be Smart resolution to get them, to get it started for the district. I know we all have been affected by incidents that have happened, and I've just had too many personal ones as well. So being able to move forward with that, I think it's a big step, and including the suicide awareness as well. Yeah, otherwise, I just feel really sick right now. Like, this is just really, making some of these decisions is really hard, and it's emotional, and I hope people understand we're just trying to do the right thing.
Thank you, Director Mills. I'll save my comments. Director Knight.
Yes, I want to just thank work that Dan Huff and Zach Kelly did on these security camera upgrades. You know, we are able to get some significant improvement with school safety at basically a grant that's not, you know, hurting the cost of taxpayers. So I think it's a win-win, and, you know, just making our buildings that much more safe for our students and staff and our visitors. So nice job to those two for that work there.
Thank you, Director Knight. Director Schmidt.
Yeah, we had a good initial meeting with the agri-science with Hunter today. I'm probably too optimistic, but I think this is going to be an absolutely great fit for especially those expo kids, you know. In addition to the open enrollment out, which hopefully will decline, open enrollments in, which will go up, it's really the dropouts. We lose students from dropouts more than any other thing, so it's kind of like a triple win. So I just hope that, you know, the challenge will be to keep the culture. Every student I've heard talks about the great culture out there. Can we keep that culture? And I think we can, especially with Expo there. Whether we can keep it when it becomes one high school is going to be the real challenge, because the students talk about the cultural difference. Well, which one's going to infect the other? And so I think we need to be more deliberate about that, but I think it's just perfect. I really appreciate who's ever behind the scenes moving Expo. I think it's a fantastic move.
Thank you, Director Schmidt. Director Ewing.
Quick little band update. East High got their new marching band uniforms in, and they look amazing. West High will be getting theirs next fall, hopefully right before the first performance, and so both groups are going to look sharp on the field next year. I'm really proud of that. Both bands have their all-state contest on Saturday the 4th, and both are going to sound, and the freshman band at West are going to sound amazing, so if people could head out there to check that out, that would be so cool. Thank you, everybody.
Where did you say that would be?
Oh, Cedar Falls.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Director Ewing. Director Matlock.
I just would like to say I've really appreciated the opportunities to hear students talk. I mean, tonight, I was almost moved to tears a couple of times, and I didn't want to embarrass myself to actually cry. And then also the breakfast that we had at the Career Center, I think that was last week. I have just really appreciated the student conversations that we've been having. One of the things now, what Director Schmidt was talking about is that how do we keep that culture going? How do we keep, the students talked a lot about the relationships that they have with their teachers and the staffs that are there. I think it's really important for us to start having those conversations now. If we move towards this one high school, how do we maintain those cultures that these students are loving, that's getting them up every morning to go to school. So I've appreciated that. Kudos to everyone that came out tonight, you know, with Carver Expo, the Journalism Club, and then also the Waterloo Youth City Council. I mean, it was just awesome. Waterloo proud right now, Waterloo schools. I'm really, really excited about having these continued conversations. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Madlock. Director Cox.
Well, I can, one thing I'm really, really enjoying is the good learning about our schools, of what's good, what programs we got going. Somehow, I think we as a district got to pull that together and look at achievement. How is that connected? You know, I'm here, we're moving on a lot of things, but at the end of the day, our student achievements is the main important thing. We can discuss a lot. You know, I think it was nice to hear just where we at when it comes to students opting out and that kind of thing. We need to combat that with the student and parents that are opting in. We got to get that voice out there. I've observed school board over years. We only come out and talk when it's crisis. We got to talk good and achievement at all times. And so that's something that, you know, I think as a board, you know, we need to challenge ourselves when it comes to this achievement. I might have a different perspective because I walk the, you know, I'm in the schools. You know, what we have with Carver, it's real. The students are engaged, it's real. And so, you know, as we're moving forward, I don't want us to lose sight of the real thing. And that's student achievement. You know, more and more of our kids are kind of are getting caught up. They're getting caught up. Achievement is not there. And this is not trying to say what we're doing wrong or pointing fingers. This is how we need to become solution-based. I'd like to hear a little bit more about being solution-based. You know, I'm hearing all of what, I'm hearing the frantic. I want to see where I'm going with achievement. I already know the achievement when it comes to the buildings and everything else. I want to hear the achievement. I want to hear what's going to happen with our achievement. How, moving forward, our achievement is going to be better. It's going to improve. That's one thing that this board needs to seriously look at. We're talking about everything else except how our students are going to be able to make sure they have the route of going to a career, from a career standpoint. They also have a route to be college bound. We can't be one or the other. We have to be both. And you know, the other thing I'm happy about, it may not sound like it, but I am happy about this whole process. This is new to me. There's definitely valid points here coming up. You know, I appreciate superintendents speaking up. This is the direction we want to go. Well, I'm going with you. Just know that this is about getting everything going toward achievement with our students. And I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, Director Cox. That's a lot to unwrap for one evening. I first want to thank all the individuals that came to the board and spoke. The gallery was standing room only. A lot of celebrations, a lot of positive, as Director Cox mentioned. Those advisors that work with those students, the administration that have an opportunity to highlight the great things that are happening in their buildings. The students, I can see the students mirroring that. They look for that positive leadership from those advisors and that administration. The excitement that was on those students' faces, and just how they approached whatever it was that they came and spoke about. So whether it be gardening or being a lighthouse school or a trip to Kansas City for journalism, our students are around people, for the most part, that are positive, and we need to make sure they gravitate to those individuals, because it's making their schools, when they go back to their schools, their buildings, their peers look at that. So, again, thank you to everybody that was able to come, the presentations. I always say, this ain't an easy, I can't call it a job. This is not an easy place to be. But when those celebrations come, when those young people come in front of us, when we see the positivity, it brings us to tears. It makes us smile. That's the only thing I like about this. I'm not a political person. I love people. So when I say that, I genuinely mean it. I'm wired for young people. I want to see people that mirror who I was as a young person, lost, needing someone to put me in a position to succeed. I never thought I would be in this position.
Mr. President.
Not even president, just being sitting here, just being in the forefront, talking about education, because I skip school every day. I had all 4 lunch shifts. True story. I also want to thank each and every one of you, and I'll do that often, because it is a thankless job. It's 8:30 p.m., and we're sitting here, and this is probably the first meeting that I've been a part of where we had a little controversy, where we were passionate about how we felt, how I'll lead this group, and I've been in a position to lead since I was 20 years old. Everybody's voices matter. I won't cut you off, Lyle. Because everybody has their own perspective, and that's one thing I learned. Sometimes you have to get things off. See how you feel. And I appreciate each and every one of you for sitting in these seats, for doing what you do. Because trust me, it's thankless. We're not always going to agree, and I was going to make a comment when Stacy made her comment. Yeah, we're going to feel uncomfortable sometimes. We are. We're not always going to agree. But there can be beauty in that, because it gets everybody to thinking. When Lyle sends me those long emails that I told our 2 newest board members, Jonathan and Crystal, and I said this to Lyle as well, and I'm going to take a few minutes today, because I feel it. I appreciate his insight. He's my mentor. I appreciate what he does for our board. And I made the comment, I think we would be pretty lost without him.
I agree.
Because he's so in, he doesn't, we all have jobs, he don't work. He has a lot of time on his hands. Yeah, so he's very in-depth, and I'm appreciative of that, because it's things that Director Mills will think about that I won't. It's things that Director Matlock will think about that I won't. Janelle put her lawyer hat on today. Nobody would have thought about that perspective. So each and every one of you have a unique perspective, and from me to you, it's appreciated. And I am happy that you elected me to sit in this position. And the goal is to move this district forward and be student focused. So thank you all. Our next, we will be in this room tomorrow for a work session, Academic Student Achievement at 5 p.m. It's open to the public. On Thursday, April 25th, if you have not got your tickets yet, the Waterloo Schools Foundation Sparking Academic Excellence Breakfast will be at the Waterloo the Waterloo Convention Center. I believe the doors open at 6:45 a.m.
Is it 6:30 or 6:45?
I think it's 6:45 for the public. I think 6:45 for the public. So make sure you support that endeavor as well, our partners. We appreciate everything that they do for our district. And our next board meeting will be on May 13th in this room at 5 p.m. If we don't have anything else, can I get a motion to adjourn this meeting?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes aye. Motion carried. Thank you.